සතු කුසුම් උඩු
පෙරහැර මංගල්‍යය ආරම්භ වෙනවා. මේ අති උත්කර්ෂයෙන් යුතු අලංකෘත පෙරහැර මංගල්‍ය වේදි සරණ මොහොත ඉන්දිරාජා නිතුමානයට ගෙනෙන්නට අප සූදානම්. PO TV නාලිකා අංක 20 310 ඒ වගේම ඩයලොග් TV නාලිකා අංක 119 ඔස්සේ ප්‍රීසෙට් නාලිකා අංක 2 ඔස්සේ මේ පෙරහැරේ වර්ණ රටාවන් රූප රටාවන් ගෙනෙන්නට අප සූදානම්. ඒ වගේ වෙනවා ලොවක් මවිත කරවන්නා වූ පෙරහැර මංගල්‍යයේ අසිරිය නරඹන්නට අප ඔබ සැමටම ආරාධනා කරනවා. මේ ප්‍රථම කුඹල් පෙරහැර මංගල්‍යය දින 10ක් පුරාවට සිරි අසිරිය විඳින්නට ඔබට හැකියාව තිබෙනවා. උත්තම වූ දළදා වහන්සේ අභිමුව සිදු කරන උත්තම පරිහාරය මෙරණට සූදානම්. ഘോഷിත
இன்றைய நாள் எசல பெரஹராவினுடைய முதலாம் நாள் கும்பற் பெரவராகவாகும். இன்றைய கண்கொள்ளா காட்சியினை கண்டு நிற்க தயாராக இருக்கின்றார்கள். ஆகவே நீங்கள் எங்கிருந்தாலும் இக்கண்கொள்ளா காட்சியினை காண உங்கள் அனைவரையும் கண்டி மாநகரத்திற்கு வருக தானிகள் சகிதம் இவ்விதி கண்கொள்ளா காட்சிகளாக இணைந்திருக்கின்றது. ஆகவே இக்காட்சிகளை காண தவறுபவர்கள் டயலாக் தொலைக்காட்சி 119 Facebook YouTube தளங்களினூடாக இக்காட்சிகளை நேரடியாக கண்டுகளிக்க முடியும். சந்துலி இதோ உங்களுக்கான நேரம்.
Thank you, Goshigan. Embarking upon the harmonious convergence of cultural heritage and spiritual devotion of Sri Lankans, the first Kumbal Perahera of Sridian dancers and the grandeur of the great Tuskers. This procession is about to adorn the streets of Kandy for the 1713th time in the history. Ladies and gentlemen, as you all know, this procession is not just a sight to behold. Thank you all to the World Heritage City of Kandy to watch this procession live. And for those of you who are joining us from home, tune into Dialogue TV channel number 119, PO TV channel number 20 and 310 as live.
We are delighted to welcome you to the special live broadcast of the first Kumbal Perahera of the Kandy Esala Perahera 2023, brought to you by the Media and Special Projects Bureau
and blessings of the Diyavadana Nilame, the lay custodian of the sacred tooth relic, before commencing their street perambulations. Nilame to the officiating bhikkhus.
Now, the Diyavadana Nilame will be making his way from the he is seen ceremoniously and reverentially carrying the Perahera casket under the protection of the custodian venerating prelate of the Malwatu Mahaviharaya, Venerable Tibbatuave Medas, scents and flowers all the way from the upper chamber till it is placed on the awaiting tusker.
relics of Lord Buddha being placed within the Ranhelike that is mounted on the lavishly costumed tusker who will uplift the majesty of this great procession.
To the Perahera casket, and this is the first night procession of the Kandy Esala Perahera 2023, the grand festival of respect that pays homage
from the Mahawahal Kada, the main entrance onto the Sandagala, the moonstone, amidst the tune of traditional Nagasingham music in preparation to parade the streets of the Kandian city.
On this year 2023, we are witnessing the grace of the 1713th Perahera that had begun during the reign of King Kirti Sri Megavarna, who pledged that the relics must be any ruling kings, prime ministers and presidents of our country. These are the whip crackers announcing that the procession has commenced, and these whip masters are tasked with clearing the way for the sacred relic casket and the king.
When looking back at history in the ancient times, it was the ruling king who would parade the streets in the Perahera, but the king in the modern day Perahera.
The Perahera is believed to be held in prayer for a timely rainfall, and the elements of this Perahera is structured in a symbolic way that it paints the imagery of a rainfall. The symbolic imagery to depict the sound of lightning and thunder to pay homage to the rain gods, requesting to bless our crops and cultivations with rain.
Is handed down from generation to generation of their clans, and only those who have mastered the art of whip cracking will be taken to participate in the Kandy Esala Perahera. According to the traditions, a Perahera which does not have this pedigree are not even being called such. In single file, we see the whip masters carefully known as Niyaga and Navapatta, which indicates how traditions have been preserved and the authentic methods have not changed throughout the parading history of 1713 years.
It can be noticed how these whip masters are untying the knots that are formed with the whipping, and that is symbolic to the various problems that we face in this journey of life, where we too spend a careful
Many onlookers who are seated around the city of Kandy to witness this Perahera any evil from their loved ones and for blessings from the sacred tooth relic.
And this team of whip masters this evening is being led by Mr. Upali Jayaratna. An ancient poem, translated from the book Sangarajavata, recites the story of the Kandy Esala Perahera as follows. The kingdom of Senkadagala, led by the grace of the Buddha, followed by the deities, the Perahera shall perambulate, just as the kings did commemorate.
p.m. heading the direction of southwest, parading through Dalada Vidya, T.S. Anayaka Vidya, Temple Street, Deva Street, Colombo Street, Yatinura Street and King Street.
We see the whip master vision that highlights the basis for giving, offering and sharing among the people of our land. In fact, Sri Lankans are among the top in the world's giving index. That is indeed an outcome from the social influence of Lord Buddha's teachings.
So, as their minds are conditioned to giving.
The most revealing narration of the Kandy Esala Perahera is found in the book written by the Chinese pilgrim Fahian in the 5th century. The sporadic invasions by the Dravidians resulted in Yapahua, Kurunagala, Kotte and Gampala. With the final shift of the kingdom to this great city of Kandy, the relics have remained undisturbed, and thereby the Kandy Esala Perahera has been held annually to rejoice.
Now you're seeing the entrance of the fire acrobats. Rain does not come with thunder alone. Just as lightning flashes across the skies, the procession too has its flashes, who are offering fire, inviting the rain gods to water our lands with rain. Even though it seems very paradox to learn that we offer fire to seek for water, this phenomenon of nature is magnificently depicted by this group of fireball that comes with the rain.
The turning of fireballs is called Pandam Palia, which paints the night with varied patterns of light, using both hands and feet, along with thrilling episodes of fire stunts. Back in history, Kandian performing arts have been classified into 5 variants, which were known as. Interestingly, it was the king's order that all 5 of these classifications must be performed in the Perahera, which is a royal order that is still being obeyed since the ancient times till the modern.
So the classification of Wahala Ilangama that was mentioned by Nilesh before comprises of acts that create a sense of thrill, art that belongs to the Wahala Ilangama.
The fireball dance is in fact performed in 3 levels, known as the Bintalaya, low level, Madatalaya, mid level, and Ahastalaya, the sky level. That is definitely the highlighted episode of the fireball dance that is performed standing on each other.
When we look at the history of Kandy Perahera Nilesh, it is as if the king and the public had never been permitted in having a chance of worshipping it. It was indeed the thankful move by King Kirti Sri Rajasingha, who declared that the relics need to be taken in procession for the public to witness and venerate in seek for blessings.
And that troupe of fireball dancers were led by Mr. and they carry the most respected flag of Buddhism while being preceded by the national flag of Sri Lanka. The sight of these Buddhist flags create a sense of tranquility among the spectators, reminding us the fact that this procession is in celebration, devotion, and
A priority of the Kandy Esala Perahera is to reflect the unity of Sri Lanka as a nation, which is in here is symbolized by the national flag. The 6 colors of the flag represent the colors of the aura that emanated from the body of Lord Buddha when he attained enlightenment under the sacred Bodhi tree. The horizontal strips represent the races of the world living in harmony.
The colors displayed in the Buddhist flag represent the perfection of Buddhahood and the Dhamma, his preachings. The symbolic identities of these colors are illustrated as and liberation and orange for the unshakable wisdom.
This ceremonious procession is performed in adulation of the living Buddha and as well played in the ceremonious form to remind people of the great scope and depth of Dhamma that was preached by Lord Buddha. The flag bearers create a sense of unlimited compassion of the Buddha. This sight truly calms the undisciplined, wayward minds and focuses.
And this troop of Buddhist flag bearers are led by the open prison camp of Pallekele. Bearers who provide protection to the Perahera casket. Perahera, which is the arrival of the very first elephant who will be carrying the Peramunerala. It is the norm of the Perahera that the Peramunerala, or the front runner of the procession, is the first person on elephant back, and neither officials nor elephants are permitted to parade before the Peramunerala or Rajamaha Vihara to the Venerable Chief Incumbent, Venerable Alutnuwara Anuruddha Thero. Kotte Raja is in fact a Burmese tusker who was gifted to Sri Lanka in the year 2009 by the former Minister of Participant of the Kandy Esala Perahera, and it is great to see him arriving all the way from the capital of Sri Lanka to add value to the Kandy Esala Perahera of 2022.
This is the arrival of the first Hevisi troupe that represents the official musical ensemble who are permanently seconded to the service which they practice with majestic skill. In fact, no Panchaturya Vadana or traditional orchestra of Sinhalese music that produce sounds using either drums or other musical instruments is permitted before the Hevisi as per the rule of the Kandian Perahera tradition.
Sri Lanka is rich with its own genres of traditional music, and Hevisi, which is dignified as the most authentic sound of Sri Lanka. The history of Hevisi takes back to the time when the sapling of the Jayashree Mahabodhi tree is the oldest traditional orchestra and Buddhist sound offering that we find in Sri Lankan heritage.
As the most prominent orchestra of the fivefold musical instruments and Sabaragamuan. The speciality of the Kandy Esala Perahera is the pure domination of upcountry traditional arts, wherefore this particular Hevisi instrumental performance belongs to the upcountry tradition of Hevisi, which is known as Udarata Hevisi.
Instruments, as recognized by Sri Lankan music culture as Panchaturyanada, is noted as Atata, which are instruments played by both hands, Vitata, instruments played using with each other, and Sushira, which are the instruments that are blown. And this arrangement of the upcountry ensemble of Hevisi consists of 4 out of the 5 mentioned tunes, except for the Gataberea, which represents the Arthata tune. However, or the traditional windpipe that represents the tune of Sushira, the Tammatama or the kettle drum that represents the tune of Vitata, the Daula that represents the tune of Vitatatata, and the Talampata or the little hand cymbals that represent the tune of Gana. Must be noted that these instruments are played only according to the traditional rule.
The musicianship of Hevisi, the Kandy Esala Perahera, and for the daily rituals of the Dalida Maligava, Malagammana and Molagoda, who represented the first row of this Hevisi troop while marching to the beat of the drums. Apart from the key lineages, we also see the presence of other Hevisi lineages in this Perahera, representing Walletota, Moradanda, Hevavissa, Kahala, and Udupila.
Riding on the second elephant is the Gajanayak Nilame is the royal official in charge of the king's troop of elephants, and it was a position given directly to him by the king himself. And this evening we see the Tusker Burumaraja belonging to the Sri Dalada Maligava in request of the current Diyawada Nilame Pradeep Nilanga Dela.
According to the Perahera tradition, the Gajanayaka Nilame obtains the Ankusaya from the Diyavadana and Basnayaka Nilame. Officials shall proceed in the Perahera without the blessings or symbol that is handed over by the respective lay custodian.
We now see the Bulat Padaya dance, which is presented by Mr. Nalin Jayasekara of the Sri Dal.
Terrain dance performances of the upcountry dance tradition, which provides a welcoming gesture to the audience. The dancers carry a heap of betel leaves on a white cloth with both their hands and dances in style and discipline using footwork to the tune of the Gataberea. Karma across upcountry, low country and Sabaragamo traditions, and here we are seeing the upcountry version of the Kotalapadaya.
Kankare healing ritual as one of the 4 Hatpadaya or 7 dance episodes that comprise of this Bulat Padaya, the Kotalapadaya, the Malpadaya, Salupadaya, Polpadaya, Yahan Mutti Padaya, and the Agurudu arena, which is known as the Malyahana.
In fact, this is performed by a single artist who is the chief dancer, dressed in the West costume as part of the custom of the Kohomba Kankardu group dance.
And now we see the third elephant of the procession who is carrying an official with a Buddhist flag. In fact, carrying a Buddhist flag on top of the third elephant is to symbolize the fact that this is truly a Buddhist festival. And this elephant is Banda, belonging to the Honorable Diyawada Nilame of the Pradeep of the Sri Dalada Maligava, Ratnapura. And we see how majestically Banda shall walk down in the streets of Kandy while biting his trunk, which is known as one of the majestic gestures of an upcountry elephant. And coming up next, we see the Tammatama.
Try in English. It is a vital instrument of the Hevisi ensemble that takes a predominant position in the Perahera as the main sound offering towards the impending requeries of worship. However, instrument we saw in the Hevisi troupe.
The amazing feature about this Thammattam performance is that we see both playing and dancing with the Thammattam, which is evidently of Sri Lankan performing arts, where our artists are gifted with the talent of making more than what is expected of what we are blessed with.
The artist A.P. Asurananda of Ridhigama in Kurunagala, who is in fact the father of the artist Sujit Ananda, who is heading this Patimattama, belongs to the Vitata classification of the Panchathuryanada, as it played using two cane sticks known as the Kadippu, and that is why the Thammattam dance is classified as a Vitata dance.
And now we are seeing another Tusker who is joining the troop of Tuskers of the Sri Dalada Maligava. On the mount of Pulathisi we are seeing an official who is carrying a canopy, which in fact symbolizes protection to the impending relic casket. Pulathisi was gifted to Mr. Maithripala Sirisena. In fact, this year was quite special for Pulathisi because it was the first year in which he joined the Perahera as a Dala Eli. In the future days, which we are to see him in greater roles than being the fourth Tusker. The Kumbal Perahera procession is that most elephants are dressed in the color of white, which we see even in this Tusker Pulathisi being presented by the Chandananda Buddhist College of Kandy.
The Thalampata, or the small set of cymbals, are a vital instrument used in all that is technically mentioned as the Tit Matre. But here, the Thalam dance considers these little cymbals as the main prop itself, where the dancers play the cymbals.
The young performers dash these cymbals in the choreographed rhythm and perform a dance that creating the cultural element of the act.
Due to the use of the Thalampadu as the main dance tool, which belongs to the Gana variant of the Panchathuryanada. This evolves its way as a Gana Natuma due to the mere reason of how these artists dash their thalam with each other.
The dancers have not failed to add beauty to the visual appearance of the dance through their costumes and props. We see vibrant and bright colored costumes being worn by the artists, and also the two bright colored cloth chiefs that are being attached to both the ends of the thalam. That certainly creates a picturesque attraction. We are seeing another majestic tusker of the Kandy as the great tusker Vasana, belonging to the Ruhulu Maha Kataragama Devalaya. In fact, among the 4 chief tuskers who are privileged in carrying the Perahera relic casket, Vasana is one of the most formidable tuskers among them, and in the future days throughout the series. Following Vasana, we are now seeing
The Nayandi dance is one of the more during the Kumbal Perahera festival.
The word Nayandi is in fact the name of the dancers, with the exclusion of the devoted headdress that is replaced with a cloth turban with a knot on the head center that is taking the shape of a cobra.
The specialty of Nayandi dancing is that this dance is per dancer, and any dance artist who aspires to crown as a Kandian best dancer would first need to master the skill of Nayandi in order to proceed. Due to its visual richness in attraction, and this dance is also known as Adavis, meaning the half of the West costume, and at times even known as Tanikachi, that relates to the special head turban that is worn.
Young Tuskers who are affiliated with Sri Dalada Maligawa. As we all know, the administration of the Sri Dalada Maligawa is divided in between the Diyavara Nilame and the Mahanayaka Theros of the Askiriya and Malvatta chapters. Malvatta and Askiriya chapters. On the left, we see the Tusker Sindhu, belonging to Venerable Tibbatuave Sri Sumangala Thero, who is the chief incumbent, who is the Mahanayaka Thero of the Askiriya chapter. In fact, both Sindhu and Raju were gifted to the Sri Dalada Maligawa in the year 2009 by the former President of Sri Lanka, Mr. Mahinda Rajapaksha. And following Mr. PCB Vijay Surya.
Traditional dancing in Sri Lanka is segregated into two main types, which are the Shastriya Natum or dance performances that we see now is a remarkable fusion of not just one but 4 different folk dance performances being danced simultaneously in the same spotlight.
The Likeli, the Rabang and the Savarang, which would see being performed as individual dance items across the 5 segments of this majestic Perahera. And this dance act is certainly a snapshot of the beauty of the Sri Lankan folk culture.
Which are dance items that represent the culture of the native village lifestyles of Sri Lanka. These dance acts have no ritualistic regulations that need to be strictly adhered to in designing the choreography, costumes, tunes and other elements of attraction, keeping in mind to not harm the authenticity of the dance.
The Perahera is a great cultural spectacle that infuses both Buddhist and several Hindu cultural practices. Coming back to the dance item, this particular dance is represented as one piece.
It is true that it is the same music that is being played for the whole group, but this music plays the tune for 4 different dance acts that involve 4 different crops and 4 different
We are seeing yet another elephant of the Dalada Perahera this evening. And this elephant is Vijita Raja, who belongs. In fact, when we analyze the census of domestic elephants in Sri Lanka, Vijita Raja is the only elephant who belongs to the north central province of Sri Lanka. And we saw Vijita Raja being the ceremony of Dalada Maligawa itself. Next up, we are seeing a Pantheru dance performance that is led to the procession by Mr. Palita Hapugoda.
The pantheru is a musical instrument that is used as a rhythm tool across all three traditions of upcountry, low country and Sabaragamuwa, but the pantheru dance is exclusively belonging to the Udarata or upcountry tradition of dance.
Frame castanet with 5 cymbals fixed to it, which gives a subtle metallic sound as it shakes. It was originally used to keep up the beat in the chamber of versifiers or the Kavikara Maduwa and is considered as one of the authentic tunes that are engaged with the sound offerings.
Is one of the 5 types of upcountry performing carrying the relic casket.
We are now seeing another Tusker who also belongs to the Sri Dalada Maligawa, and this is Singharaja, who is predominantly known as the young prince of Kandy by the Singha regiment of the Sri Lanka Army in the year 1994, and he was named Singharaja as a tribute to the Singha regiment of the Sri Lanka Army, who used to take care of him during his childhood. And the arrival of the sacred relic casket, and we are seeing this troupe of West dancers who are being led and trained by Mr. Ishanta Ihalavela and Mr. Lasantha Wansekara, who will be escorting their way to the sacred relic casket. The most unique and recognized presentation of the Kandian dance heritage is the most fully adorned West Nattua or the Kandian West Dancer. The Kandian dancer's skill and dance form.
This icon of the West Dancer, who is the branding identity of traditional Sri Lankan dancing across the 7 seas, despite the presence of many artistic dance performances that are authentic to traditional Sri Lankan dance. It is a Sri Lankan dance which we could be certainly proud of.
The West dance is in fact more than just a ritual. Costumes of these dances are also considered sacred. This most glamorous costume symbolically represents the regalia of the Malay king, the royalty who performed the ancient.
It was in the 4th century BC when the first ever Hetapus Mangalya was performed in Sri Lanka by the Malaya king to cure Devidos or godly curse that had been bestowed upon Sri Lanka as Tambapani. The story of King Vijaya and his tribal wife Koeni is in fact the birth story of the royal tradition of Kandian dancing, which is quite interesting to learn.
Of King Vijaya upon his arrival to Sri Lanka, being the first young lady who he witnesses just after discovering this copper-sanded land of Sri Lanka. Unfortunately, it is a sad incident when, being frustrated with pressure, Kueni cursed King Vijaya and his descendants, which ultimately affected Impanduwasdeva. The traditional rituals and obtain permission to dance in the procession. However, those who dance in the Dalada Perahera are those who have brought with them a samsaric habit and skill in the performance of this art form. And now we are seeing the Karya Karavana Korala dressed in the Waligala. We are now at the much awaited and most devout moment of the Perahera, as now we see the royal Tusker ceremoniously carrying the Perahera relic casket. And this Tusker is Indiraja, Raja of the Sri Dalada Maligawa, and Kandula of the Kalaniya Rajamahawihara, who is walking up front this evening. And let us take a moment to feel the devotion and worship the sacred tooth relic of Lord Buddha. Versifiers, or the Kavikara Maduwa, the group of poets who walk behind the relic casket, while singing the virtues of Lord Buddha. These versifiers are holding several instruments, including the panterua, the udakia, and the special, and shall sing until it is reverentially placed back after the Perahera. This too is in fact an offering of King Veera Parakrama Narendra Singha to the sacred tooth relic. Of West dancers of the first Kumbal Perahera, who are being tasked with escorting the Diyavadana Nilame. And these troop of West dancers are being led by Mr. Sanjeeva Verapitiya and Mr. Peter Surasena.
West Dance. When going down history, the West Dance was performed in the time of Anuradhapura Kingdom, and this had been rebranded as a Kandian dance only after the royalty had shifted to the... But in fact, they have been performing in the Kandy Perahera as lineages since the time of their great ancestors. We see the ancestral lineages of Talgahagoda and many more other lineages.
Which is known as Tandava in technical dance language. The dance is choreographed in heavy steps that could only be performed by the strongest of men, and is undoubtedly a dance performance that requires a learn about the highly energetic Sri Lankan men who have evolved since our history in this country with so much of man-made developments. We now see the lay custodian of Sri Dalada Maligava, the 19th Diyavadana Nilame, Honorable Pradeep Nilanga Dala, who walks with utmost pride and majesty while bringing in a true sense of ancient
history, and is now designated as the lay protector of the sacred tooth relic of Lord Buddha, which makes him one of the truly respected lay leaders in Buddhism in Sri Lanka.
The Diyavad Nilame shall walk under the Mutukudaya or the pearl umbrella, surrounded by his army of guards, followed by the Vidanis of the chief. We are now moving on to the procession of the Sri Mahanatha Devalaya. Equiliries of God Natha shall be reverentially carried out of the Natha Devala shrine. The first act of the Sri Mahanatha Devala Perahera are the Buddhist flag bearers, where it is considered as the main shrine that is dedicated towards Lord Natha, and one of the oldest buildings in Kandy that was even built before the Sri Dalada Maligava. The procession of the Natha Devalaya is the first to follow the Dalada Perahera due to the belief
in Kandy is recognized since as the Jayabhumi, or the land with the luck, since the time of our ancestors, based on the indication by an ancient Brahmin named Senkanda. According to the legend, this sage Senkanda had once visited this land and had managed to chase the entire pack of wolves by itself just as it entered this land. Interestingly, it was because of this same Brahmin that involved the name
simply denote the fact that God Natha is a Buddhist deity. And following the Buddhist flag troop of the Sri Mahanatha Devalaya, we are seeing the official Hevisi troupe of the Sri Mahanatha Devalaya. And this troupe of Hevisi are being led by Mr. S.Y. Hevisi is in fact a predominant form of music that is used for religious veneration in Buddhist and Buddhist affiliated gods in Sri Lanka. And this orchestra too has its own differences.
Just like how the Hevisi troupe of the Sri Dalada Malikaval procession engages in their own routine offerings, the Hevisi troops of the four Esala Peraheras are the actual lineages who still perform in the day is not just a part of the Sri Dalada Malikaval's rituals, but is also similarly important to the offerings of the Devala shrines as the main Shabda Puja or offerings to respective Devalaya.
Speaking of the tunes, as I mentioned previously, we also experience several situational variants where we see different tunes being played when the Perahera, who is carrying an official with the flag of that depicts the picture of God Natha, and this elephant who shall lead the procession of God Natha is the elephant Sudu Mahathaya. The Devalaya is believed to be built as an offering towards God Natha by King Vikramabahu III, and the royal buildings including the palace had then been natural style during the Gampala era. And following the elephant Sudu Mahathaya, we are seeing a troupe of Savarang dancers who are being trained by the Arya Aesthetic Academy, trained by Mr. Dilshan.
But this is not the usual Chamara dance we witnessed previously. This dance, which is recognized as the Savarang dance, is similar dance to Chamara, but with a difference in the prop that is used. The Savarama, the main tool used by the shin of the Chamara instrument. However, the Savarama tool is meant to serve the same purpose as the Chamara, which is to fan and cool the impending icon of worship, which was traditionally the king and today the relic casket or the reliquaries of.
The choreography of this folk dance that is styled of the upcountry tradition is designed to symbolize fanning that is performed using different dance steps, different stances, and the visual beauty that is created by these tussles in most folk dance performances. This Savarang dance too shows several episodes of breaking down into subgroups during their performance.
Of that is blown using the flute is very mesmerizing to the ear, and the tunes we hear from these flutes are in fact specific poems that are exclusively written for the Savarang dance known as Savarang Kavi. These tussles are not artificial crafts. In fact, this is known to be the tail
belonging to Mr. Varuna Kannangara in Horana. In fact, the elephants of the Kannangara family have been routine participants of the Sri Mahanatha Esala Perahera, where once upon a time it was the great the cooling breeze that flows from the surroundings, from the Udavatta forest on the right and from the Kandy lake on the left, certainly creates the feel of how nature too contributes to the Perahera by displaying its unmatched unique form. It is being trained by Mr. H.M.P. Upali Dharmaratna of the Shashikala Aesthetic Academy.
When it comes to Lee Kelly, it is also another interesting folk dance of the upcoming tradition in a rhythm, individually and even among pairs or at times groups. Being a folk dance itself, this dance too sets a village picture for the audience, but the origin of the exact moment performed can be guessed as the ancient practices for war battle.
We are seeing two elephants joining the procession of God Natha, On one side, we see the elephant Kandula belonging to Mr. Roshan Samarakkodi of Maharagama. And on the other side, we see the young elephant Sama. In fact, both Kandula and Sama have been unique participants of the Sri Mahanatha Devala Perahera. And we are able to see them dressed in the color yellow, which is to symbolize the authenticity of God Natha. Following Kandula and Sama, we are seeing the most awaited moment of the Sri Mahanatha Devala Perahera. And this is the troupe of Nayandi dancers who are being trained by Mr. Asanka Karunaratna, the Requiliaries of God Natha.
Many professional Kandian dancers who perform the West dance in the Kohomba Kankarya, the main healing ritual of the upcountry tradition, are culturally not practicing the West dance elsewhere in social or other social gathering events, just as the Perahera itself.
The well-known fact behind God Natha is the belief that he is the next in line to attain Buddhahood. As Maitri Bodhisattva, Natha is shown as a gentle young man of fair complexion who holds a lotus flower in his left hand. He is in fact famed as one of the most dominant gods associated with the hill country.
Including the Mahayana and Theravada traditions, where he is predominantly associated as the future Buddha. In Sri Lankan history, there are recorded evidence and mentions of God Natha in Sandesha of Tisara, Gira and
We are now seeing the arrival of the ceremonial elephant of the Sri Mahanatha Devalaya, who has been preceded by the chief prelate or the Pradhana Kapu Mahatya of the Sri Mahanatha Devalaya in Arjuna, belonging to Venerable Korakota Kanyasiha Theru, the chief incumbent of the Vauru Kannala Budu Raja Mahavihare in Dikwella. And this evening, Arjuna is being accompanied by the elephant Kana and the elephant Bandara, belonging to Mr. Amal Tilakaratna of Kegon. And let us take this moment to worship and invoke the blessings of God Natha. While that marks the end of the Sri Mahanatha Devala procession, let us move on to the commencement of the Sri Mahavishnu Devala Perahera. Sri Mahavishnu Devala in Kandy, that is predominantly identified as the Mahadevalaya of the great shrine, is the main shrine in the hill capital that is dedicated to Lord Vishnu among the Satara Mahadeva. Leading the procession of the Sri Mahavishnu Devala Perahera, we see the arrival of the state flag bearers, known as the Palat Protector of Sri Lanka. And the flags are in fact identities that Lord Vishnu shall be overseeing all of these states. And following the state flag bearers, we are seeing the flag of the Irahanda Kodiya, known as the Sun and the Moon flag, Pattini Devala. Taraka is in fact the second most tallest elephant in Sri Lanka, who shall not add nothing but majesty to this procession of God Vishnu. The Havisi troupe of the Sri Mahavishnu Devalaya is noted
chosen base of jack plant of copper is ceremoniously brought all the way from Alutnuwara 55 kilometers. The Dadimunda Devalaya in Kandy is located in the Sri Mahavishnu Devala premises itself, and this is where the main piece of jack plant shall be cut into 4 equal quarters and distributed to the other 3 Devala shrines on the Mount of
Known as the Kapsituvela, or the planting of jack in the auspicious hour. And this particular piece of jack which we spoke about is cut from the village of Alutnuwara that is located on the footsteps of Kadugannala, which marks the entrance to the district of Kandy at Dadimunda. The Sri Mahavishnu Devala is located northeast to the Sri Dalada Maligala, which is accessed easily by seconded to the Sri Dalada Maligala.
Different sources of history have pronounced this deity and the Devalaya by different names, where one such evident Nuwara Devi, who had been brought to Alutnuwara in Kegol from Devinuwara in Mathura, while another legend identifies this god as Upulwandevio, which translates to the blue color god.
Young tuskers, on one side we see Mihin Raja, and on the other side we see Rohan Raja, both belonging to Mr. N.K. Vanniyarachi of Kotte. In fact, seeing a troop of young tuskers is truly a hope for the future ahead. Next up, we see a Panteru dance performance trained by Mr. K.G. Dharmasiri.
The Panteruwa is a musical instrument that is used exclusively belonging to Udarata or upcountry tradition of dance. The costume of the Panteru dance is one of the simplest attires that are designed in the upcountry tradition, which consists of the white cloth turban, the talisman around the neck. Kudu costume was based on 2 reasonings. One, for being an associated offering to the sacred tooth relic, and for being able to freely perform during the faster temples. Moreover, this in the daily lives of people as the troop steps forward on the streets of the city.
Following the Panteru dance, we see the arrival of 3 Samarakon of Polgahawela, who is accompanied by 2 of the youngest participants of the Sri Mahavishnu Devalaya, who was Sanju belonging to Mr. Jagat Vitana of Matugama and Sandev Raja belonging to Mr. Pradeep Miyanapalava of Mavanella. And following this trio of elephants, Sri Mahavishnu Esala Perahera, the arrival of the requiliaries of Lord Vishnu. And this troupe of Nayandi dancers are being represented by Mr. Samansiri, who represents the Kondadeniya lead.
Among the diverse religious beliefs that are observed in this island nation of Sri Lanka, Lord Vishnu is a virtuous god who is popularly being worshipped by boding Hari, Madhava, Venkateswara, Narayana, apart from the Sri Lankan recognition as Upulwan.
The concept of Trinity in Hinduism, which is known as Trimurtiya, consists of 3 main gods, namely Lord Brahma, the creator. Concept of Hinduism, named Smartha, involves Lord Vishnu, who have 5 deities including Lord Shiva, Shakti, Ganesh, Surya, and Lord Vishnu himself, promotes equal faith to all 5 of these deities. It's a speciality of the Kandy Perahera festival, where we see the requiliaries of the 4 Devalayas being escorted by 9 Andins. And now we are seeing the most devout moment of the Sri Mahavishnu Devala Perahera as we see the chief trustee or the Pradhana Kapulamahatya of the Sri Mahavishnu Devalaya walking ahead of the ceremonial elephant who will be carrying the relics of Lord Vishnu of the Sri Mahavishnu Devalaya is the great elephant Suranamala belonging to the Alutnora Dadimunda Devalaya in Alutnora, and Suranimala is accompanied by the elephant Vasana belonging to Mrs. Krishanti Alapatha of Ratnapura. The costume that is worn by the ceremonial elephant is in fact a very special Atarakorala as commendation to their bravery and strength during the reigns of King Parakram Bahu II and King Rajasingha II. And let us now take this moment to worship and ignite with the blessings of Lord Vishnu. While that marks the end of the Sri Mahavishnu Devala Perahera, we are seeing the commencement of the Sri Maha Kataragama Devala Perahera. The Sri Maha Kataragama Devala in Kandy is one of the key places of worship. Maha Kataragama Devalaya is being the only out of the Satara Maha Devalaya or the 4 main shrines that is located outside the premises of the Sri Dalada Maligava, as it is located in the Kotugadalla Vidya, which was known as the, and we see the inclusion of Buddhist flag bearers along with the special flags that depict the symbols of Lord Kataragama being infused to the Perahera by the Civil Defence Unit of Pallekele.
Sri Maha Kataragama Devalaya had been built during the reign of King Narendra Singha, who ruled the country from the year 1707 to 1739, where it was considered as personal Kataragama.
The Devala is constructed in the shape of an oblong building with wood-carved valance boards, having narrow passages on all 4 sides. The premises holds a shrine dedicated to Lord Kataragama, along with several other shrines dedicated to several gods, including
Shrines dedicated to gods are referred to as Kovil and Devala in general Sinhalese, but has its differentiation based on the practiced culture of traditions. Kovils are usually managed with pure Tamil cultured practices of Hinduism, while
Lord Kataragama, or the god of war, is a divine deity who is worshipped as Kanda Kumara, Kartikeya, or Murugan in South Indian tradition, and as Kandasuridun, Kadira, or Kataragama Deviyo in Sri Lankans, and 12 hands, who sits on the peacock with his consorts Tevani Amma and Valli Amma. Of flags. The flag that led the way showed an illustration of King Ravana, who is an ancient king of Sri Lanka who connects the Indian epic of Ramayana to Sri Lanka. The reason why we see the flag of King Ravana. And now we see the first elephant of the Sri Maha Kataragama Kapala Raja Mahavihare in Amilipitiya. In fact, Sankaraja is one of the ceremonial elephants of the Sri Maha Kataragama Devalaya, who once carried the requelaries of Lord Kataragama in the Grand Randuri Perahera a few years ago.
Now, so this troupe of Sri Maha Kataragama Devalaya too is quite notable when compared to the other troupes of Heresi due to the difference in its tune and tempo. The style of Hevesi not just depends on the regional or state. This Hevesi troupe that leads the procession of Sri Mahakataragama Devalaya, that is hailing from the lineage of P.D. James Guru Nansi, is distinguished for its faster tempo that is similarly unique to the customs of the rituals which we did not witness in other parts of the procession. And once again, I would like to remind you, this Hevesi troupe of Sri Mahakataragama Devalaya will be led by P.D.
It is believed that Lord Kataragama is the youngest son of Lord Shiva and Goddess Parvati, and is considered as an important deity and Kumara in North India, and is predominantly worshipped in the state of Tamil Nadu and the parts of South India, Sri Lanka, Singapore, Malaysia and Mauritius. Following this troop of Hevesi, we are seeing the elephant Ratna, who belongs to Venerable Bengamue Dhammadina Thero, the chief. Ratna is an elephant who is gifted to the despite the Sri Dalada Perahera being taken place in Kandy. Many elephants who represent far cities such as Ratnapura arrive in this city of Kandy to take part in the procession of God Kataragama, and following Ratna of the Nitya Aesthetic Academy.
When it comes to the fact, this is known to be the tail hair of the Semara deer who lives in the tip of the Himalayan mountains, which is used as the fanning tool of royalty since the very ancient times. It is believed that there is no cooling breeze than the air Semara Salima.
The sweet tune that is blown using the flute is mesmerizing to the ear, and the tunes we hear from this flute Following the Savarang dance, we are seeing the youngest elephant of the Sri Mahakataragama Devala Perahera, who is the elephant Sudumaniki, belonging to Mr. Buddhika Mirihalla of Mavanella. Lord of Kataragama is mostly represented with an iconography of 6 faces that symbolize 6 of his divine powers or attributes. The first, which radiates light and dispels darkness. The second, that expresses compassion and pity for the victims of the battlefield. And the 6th, which is the kind husband who shows benevolence to both his consorts. And now we are seeing the much awaited climax of the Sri Mahakataragama Devala Perahera, which is the arrival of the Nayandi dance troupe, who will be escorting the way for the ceremonial elephant by Mr. Gayashan Malagammana of the Malagammana Aesthetic Academy. The legend of Lord Kataragama narrates his arrival in Sri Lanka as a very interesting story of romance according to the story, where Lord Kataragama had witnessed a tribal young girl named Valli. He had reached Sri Lanka via the shores of Devinora in Matara and reached the city of Katharagama in search of Valli.
If we come back to the story of Nayandi dance, the word Nayandi is in fact the name of the costume of the devoted headdress that is replaced with a cloth turban with a knot on the head center that is taking the shape of a cobra.
Year of the Sri Maha Katharagama Devali in Kandy is not of Sinhalese origin, but he is in fact an Indian national who is of traditional Brahmanic lineage and is delegated to perform his duty before him. And now we see the arrival of the ceremonial troop of elephants representing the Sri Maha Katharagama Devalaya. And this evening, the requiraries of Lord Katharagama Aruna is being accompanied by the elephants Aruna, belonging to Venerable Higgoda Chandimatheru, the chief incumbent of the Handala Rajamahavihara in Vattala, and the elephant Esala. There's an interesting story which I would like to recall when we come and see Gamulu carrying the requiraries of Lord Katharagama. In fact, Gamulu was once menace to the villages of Galgamua in the year 1991. His owner, Mr. Ratnasiri Arangalla, in fact had a vow with the Katharagama Devale in Ruhuna. And even now, regardless of the Perahera festivals that may connection between Gamunu and Lord Katharagama is fascinating. And let us now take this moment to worship and feel the invoked blessings of Lord Katharagama. Esala Perahera, we see the final segment of the first Kumbal Perahera this evening, which is the procession of the Sri Mahapattini Devalaya. This is the devout moment in which the godly ornaments in Kandy is the only shrine of the Kandy and Satara Mahadevalaya that is dedicated to the virtuous goddess Pattini, who is also the only female representation among the guardian of deities of the sacred tooth relic. And we just saw the passing of the...
It is believed that this Devalaya is at least 4 centuries old, as there are written evidence of a Perahera, that statue of goddess Pattini at this Devalaya was brought from the Mahalagammana Pattini Devalaya during the time of King Vimaladharma Surya I. Even suggests that the Sri Mahapattini Devalaya in Kandy goes back to the 16th century in history.
And now we see the first Hevisi troop of the Sri Mahapattini Devalaya. And this Hevisi troop is being led by Mr. M.G. Palita Nishanka, Mr. M.G. Sirisena, and Mr.
Sri Lanka is rich with its own genres of traditional music, and Hevisi, which is dignified as the authentic sound of Sri Lanka. The history of Hevisi takes back to Erini, and this evidence marks the fact that Hevisi is the oldest traditional orchestra and Buddhist sound offering in Sri Lankan heritage.
It is believed that the Sri Mahapattini Deva building on the usual stone platform, which consists of 4 compartments, including the traditional Kandian roof garments. And now we see the first elephant of the Sri Mahapattini Devalaya, who is Sita, belonging to Mr. Roshan Samarakodi of Mahabali. Sita is in fact one of the most special to carry the godly ornaments of goddess Pattini in the Kandy Esala Perahera in the year 2014.
Goddess Pattini is famed as the South Indian origin.
And now we see a very special dance act as we see the entrance of female dance performance, which is a unique part of the Sri Mahapattini Devalaya. This dance, which is known as a creative dance act, which is choreographed upon the Shastriya Kanta act or the Nari Natulu, which is presented by Mrs. Nadika Asuranada of the Dandi Kandy, who carries an official with a canopy that symbolizes protection to the relic casket. And this elephant is Raja, belonging to Mr. Asanka Vijay Singha of Balangaru. Performance.
One may wonder if the elegant presentations of Kandian dancing is only biased towards the males, as we notice in the dances of West and Nayandi. This thought is certainly proved wrong with this dance act, which is in fact, Nilesh, the same Nayandi which matches the feminine or lascive atmosphere that is expected out of a female performer. Theories of Kandian dance classifies such feelings to match the manner and order of females. Being an Asian country with a long-standing affiliation to Buddhism, ladies of our country are known to be and are traditionally expected to be modestly conservative in both walk and talk, especially with great female idol.
Goddess Pattini is in fact famed as the goddess of chastity and is still considered as the most popular deity among Sri Lankans, despite being a goddess of South Indian origin. And now we see another elephant of the Sri Mahapattini Devalaya in Kataragama. Next up, we are seeing a Panteru dance performance of the Sri Mahapattini Devalaya in Kandy. And this troupe of this Panteru dance, in fact, Pasasna, there is a connection between the Panteru and Goddess Pattini, isn't it?
Yes, of course. There's a special connection between these two. And can you explain?
Several stories. And one such story is that this particular Panteru is in fact the Salamba or the anklet of Goddess Pattini. And with this reason, it is quite obvious that
So Nilesh, if we talk about the cult of Goddess Pattini, it narrates legends is a birth story which is popular as Sat Pattini, where it reveals the 7 different ways in which she had been born, which include the story of Goddess Pattini being born out of a mango, dewdrop, cobra tear, and variant, which illustrates 12 birds known as the Dolos Pattini Upatha.
Following these dances of Pantheru. In fact, we can notice how this elephant manichae, also known as the Dangmovita Athena, is dancing in the same rhythm in challenge to these Pantheru dancers. And just like the female performers, we see Dangmovita elephant has been taking part in the Sri Mahapattini Esala Perahera for many years. In fact, she was one of the Dala elephants who took part in this Pattini Esala Perahera since several years ago. And now we see the Nayandi troupe of dancers who are being trained and led by the Mithun Bandara Aesthetic Academy of Watapulua, who are tasked with escorting the ceremonial elephant of the Sri Mahapattini Deva.
As we mentioned before in our commentary, Kandy Dalada Maligava Perahera. So when it comes to the goddess Pattini, she is much popular among Sri Lankans due to her power in curing diseases among women and small children. This is the same reason many of the Sri Lankan low country healing rituals as goddess Pattini. The popularity of these ceremonies can only be agreed by an eyewitness, where thousands of devotees spend an entire sleepless nights in the ritual grounds to experience and worship this miraculous power of healing.
And now we see the Pattini are being carried by the elephant Mangala, belonging to Mr. Udara Galapatti of Giriyula. And Mangala is being accompanied by the elephant Manike, belonging to Mr. Danuka Kempetiya of Let Us Take This Moment to Worship and Seek the Blessings of Goddess Pattini. Of the first Kubal Perahera of the Kandy Esala Perahera 2023.
And we hope that our country will be blessed with fertility and rains.
May our country prosper.
Dalada Samindu Pihitai.
අබ පුර තොර අකුළු ළමින් සුරකින බැවින් සිරිදලඳා සමිඳු පෙමින් පරසතු කුසුම් උඩුගුවනි විසුරුවමින් පෙරහැර පවත්වති දෙවියෝ
වඩා ආයුබෝව වේවා. ශාස්ත්‍රීයත්වය කරන කොටගෙන ඉටුටන්ට යෙදෙන පෙරහැර මංගල්‍යයේ 2023 වසරේ දෙවන කුඹල් පෙරහැර මංගල්‍යයයි වීදි සරන්නට දැන් සියල්ල සූදානම් කරමින් පවතින්නේ. 7:05ට යෙදුණු සුබ මුහූර්තයෙන් දකුණු දිශාභිමුඛව මේ පෙරහැර මංගල්‍යය ආරම්භ වෙනවා. සුබ මුහූර්තයෙන් සිංහරාජා විසින් සදාතුක කරුණුන් වහන්සේ පෙරහැර කරුණුන් වහන්සේ වැඩමවීම ඉටුකවිද වර්ණ රටාවගෙන් සුසැදි නෙකවිද නර්තනයන්ගෙන් සුසැදි නෙකවිද වාදනයන්ගෙන් සුසැදි මේ අලංකෘත වූ පෙරහැර මංගල්‍යය නරඹන වග හොඳ හැටි දන්නවා. ඒ නිසා අපි ආරාධනා කරනවා ශ්‍රී දළදා මාලිගා මාධ්‍ය කාර්යාංශයේ ලෙස ඔබට මේ හොඳම රූප දසුන් රූපකාව්‍ය ඔබ netumaanයට ගෙනෙන්නට අප සමග රැඳෙන්න මේ ආරම්භ වන්නේ දෙවන කුඹල් පෙරහැරයි. දමිළ මාදෙන් කෝෂිකන්
நன்றி ஜெயனா. அன்பு அடியார்களுக்கு இனிய வணக்கம். இது அசல பெரகராவினுடைய இரண்டாம் நாள் கும்பல் பெருக வருக என வரவேற்பதில் பெருமகிழ்ச்சி அடைகின்றோம். இக்காட்சியை காண முடியாதவர்கள் டயலக் தொலைக்காட்சி 119, பிஓடிவி 20 310, ஃப்ரீசட் 2 மற்றும் தலதா மாளிகாவினுடைய யூடியூப் ஃபேஸ்புக் தளங்களினூடாக நேரடியாக கண்டுகளிக்க முடியும். சந்துனி, இதோ உங்களுக்கான நேரம்.
Yes, Koshigan, ladies and gentlemen, we are here today to witness another spectacle which descends as this procession winds its way throughout the streets of Kandy. The reverence of the sacred tooth relic of the Lord Buddha will be palpable in the air around you. As this procession is considered to be an auspicious occasion where the cultural and spiritual energies converge, thousands of people from all corners of the world have already gathered to the World Heritage City of Kandy to witness this procession live. So, this invitation
Dalanda Samidu Pehitai. We are delighted to welcome you to the special live broadcast of the second Kumbal Perahera of the Kandy Esala Perahera 2023, brought to you by the Media and Special Projects Bureau of the Sri Dalada Maligava Kandy.
You are now seeing the Perahera officials obtaining the permission and blessings of the Diyavadana Nilame, the lay custodian of the sacred tooth relic, before commencing their street perambulations. This is the handing over of keys by the Diyavadana Nilame to the officiating bhikkhus.
Now we see the chief prelate of the Devabara prelate of the Malwata chapter, Venerable Tibbatuave Sri Medankara Thero, who will be making his way from the upper level, the Ihalamalaya, to the lower Perahera casket under the protection towards the ceremonial tusker under much veneration, amidst the offering of light, sounds, scents and flowers, all the way to the upper chamber until it is placed on the awaiting tusker.
We are now seeing the Perahera casket, which contains 32 relics of Lord Buddha, being placed within the Run Helige, is mounted on the lavishly costumed tusker, who will uplift the majesty of this great procession. Are seeing offering flowers and floral garlands to the Perahera casket, and this is the second Kumbal Perahera of the Kandy Esala Perahera 2023.
This is the devout moment when the royal tusker shall step majestically down from the Mahavahalkada, the main entrance, onto the Sandagala, the moonstone, amidst the tune of traditional Nagasingham music, in preparation to parade the streets of the Kandian city. Today, the royal tusker will be Singharaja of the Sri Dalada Maligava.
On this year 2023, we are witnessing the grace of the 1713 Perahera that had begun during the reign of King Kirtishri Meghavarna, who pledged that the relics must be carried around the city once a year, and this of our country.
Walking up front with the sound of the thundering whips piercing through the skies are the whip crackers, announcing that the procession has commenced, and these whip masters are tasked with clearing the way for the sacred relic casket and the king.
The Perahera is believed to be held in prayer for timely rainfall, and the elements of the Perahera is structured in a symbolical way that it paints the imagery of a rainfall. Rain would never be showered without the striking sound of thunder, and these whip wielders are the symbolic imagery to depict the sound of lightning and thunder to pay homage to the rain gods, requesting to bless our crops and cultivations with rain.
When looking back at history in the ancient times, it was the ruling king who would parade the streets in the Perahera, but now it is the Diyavadana Nilame, the lay custodian of the sacred tooth relic of Lord Buddha, who will resemble the king in the modern day Perahera.
The whipmaster's duty is handed down from generation to generation of their clans, and only those who have mastered the art of whip cracking will be taken to participate in the Kandy Esala Perahera.
It can be noticed how these whip masters are untying the knots that are formed with the whipping, and that is carefully manipulating their whip that is nearly 7 feet in length, which is made out of the natural materials known as Niyaga and Navapatta, which indicates how traditions have been preserved and the authentic methods have not changed throughout the parading history of 1713 years. Many onlookers who are seated around the city of Kandy to witness this Perahera can be seen throwing thousands of coins to the streets in the belief that this practice will ward off any evil from their loved ones and for blessings from the sacred tooth relic.
Nilesh, this is a beautiful tradition that highlights the basis for giving, offering and sharing among the people of our land. Sri Lankans are among the top in the world's giving index, that is in
Rich or poor they are, they offer their coins in great devotion and joy to the Perahera as their minds are conditioned to giving.
Now you are seeing the appearance of the fire acrobats, which is being led by Mr. E.D. Tilakaratna.
Rain does not come with thunder alone. Just as lightning flashes across the skies, the procession too has its flashes of light dancing across the faces of people lining the streets to watch. These are the fire dancers who are offering fire, inviting the rain gods to water our lands with rain.
Nilesh, even though it seems very paradox to learn that we offer fire to seek water, as you said, this phenomenon of nature is magnificently depicted by this group of fireball dancers who perform this thrilling stunt of acrobatics while illustrating how lightning comes with the rain.
The dancers are seen creating their paintings of fire, but for the experienced elders, it is a devout and committed fire offering.
Back in history, Kandy performing arts have been classified into 5 variants which were known as Wahala Ilangama, Singakkari Ilangama, Tamarapittukari Ilangama, Natum Ilangama and Kavikara Maduwa. Interestingly, it was the king's order that all 5 of these classifications must be performed in the Perahera, which is a royal order that is still being obeyed since the ancient times till the modern days.
These fireball dancers, trained by Mr. E.D. Tilakaratna of the Ragama Walpula Aesthetic Academy, have been performing in the Kandy Esala Perahera for many years, and on this occasion itself, we are seeing not just one, but several generations of artists representing this team of fireball dancers.
The dancers, being mindful of the part that fire plays in dispelling darkness, protecting crops and chinas, are seen taming the fire, faction and amazement on the onlookers.
The classification of Wahala Ilangama that was mentioned before by Pasasna in fact comprises of acts that creates a sense of thrill among the spectators, and the fireball dance we see in front of us is one such example of a performing art that belongs to the Wahala Ilangama.
The sun, moon, earth, universe, solar month, night and day are all cyclic, and the fireball dance highlight these universal cycles while depicting how they burn and cool as in our life cycles.
Next in line of the procession are the Buddhist flag bearers, who are clad in white national costumes, who are carrying the most respected flag of Buddhism, while being preceded by the national flag of Sri Lanka. The sight of these Buddhist flags create a sense of tranquility among the spectators, reminding us the fact that this procession is in celebration, devotion, and an offering to the great Lord Buddha.
Symbolized by the national flag that was leading the army of flags. The Buddhist flag, on the other hand, is a symbol of faith and peace. The 6 colors of the flag represent the colors of the aura that emanated from the body of Lord Buddha when he attained enlightenment under the sacred vertical strips represent eternal world peace.
The colors displayed in the Buddhist flag represent the perfection of Buddhahood and the Dhamma, his preachings. The symbolic identities of these colors are illustrated as blue for universal compassion, yellow for the middle path, red for blessings, white for purity and liberation, and orange for the unshakable wisdom.
This ceremonial procession is performed in adulation of the living Buddha and as well as a paramita or act of kindness for the future Buddha. The hexacolored flag is displayed in ceremonious form to remind people of the great scope and depth of Dhamma that was preached by Lord Buddha. The flag bearers create a sense of unlimited compassion of the Buddha. This sight truly calms the undisciplined, wayward minds and focuses them on love and compassion that radiates across the universe the teachings of Lord Buddha.
The flag bearers we see here are the inmates of the Pallekele open prison camp who have been starring in this segment in the Perahera for many years. They too are humans just like us, who were once diverted in life in lieu for a wrongdoing that could have been a mistake of theirs or of their society. But this participation is of the ordeal in releasing them back to society as corrected humans, and therefore they are here today to pay homage to the sacred tooth relic in hope for.
The origin of the Buddhist flag that we see today and which is used internationally dates back to the year 1885, where it was designed by the Colombo Committee of Ceylon, which was graced by prominent Buddhist personalities such as Venerable Hikaduwe Sumangala Thero, Venerable Migettuwatte Gunananda Thero, and Don Karavalis Hevavitharana. And this was first publicly hoisted on the Vesak public holiday under British rule.
An ancient poem translated from the book Sangarajavata, Risant of Asala, held from times ago in favor of the gods above, led by the grace of the Buddha, followed by the deities, the Perahera shall perambulate, just as the kings did commemorate. These white-clad flag-bearers remind the people of the way that the Dhamma impacted their lives from the day to the sacred tooth relic and was brought to the island. And also the calm atmosphere symbolically portrays the way to end this cycle of life or samsara.
Next up, you are seeing the sword bearers who are gracing the second Kumbal Perahera of Kandy Esala Perahera 2023. And these sword bearers are from the Angampura team of Sri Lanka Air Force.
Walking in great discipline, in their calm and disciplined nature, are the army of sword bearers who provide protection to the Perahera casket.
Clad in white sarong and a white headdress, this army is seen carrying the raised swords, not in warfare, but in a disciplined walk of calm serenity, as Nilesh mentioned before. The symbolic idea of these sword bearers is the historic protection that is provided with utmost might to the sacred tooth relic. For those who know about the history of the sacred tooth relic would be patriotically proud of our history and the heroic personality who always protected the sacred tooth relic with highest levels of bravery. Now you're seeing the entrance of Peramune Rala. The magnificent sight of the Perahera, the arrival of the very first elephant who will be carrying the Peramune Rala, is a norm of the Perahera that the Peramune Rala, or the front runner of the procession, is the first person on elephant back, and neither officials nor elephants are permitted to parade before him.
Leading the way of the second Kumbal Perahera is the Tusker Indian Tusker who was gifted to Sri Lanka in the year 1989 by the former Prime Minister of India, Mr. Rajiv Gandhi. And in fact, Indi Raja is currently the main casket bearer of the Sri Dalada Maligava.
Clad in white, traditional white costume that comprises of the white jacket and triangular hat, the Peramunerale comes into view carrying the secretarial scroll known as the Lekam Meteor, which is encased in the long cylindrical silver casket. The particular scroll that is encased in this casket is made of Olali's tradition, royal duties and assets affiliated to the Sri Dalada Maligava.
Elephants are in fact one of the main elements of Sri Lankan culture. We see the elephant coming in many historic stories in both religion and culture. And in fact, anyone who views the Kandy Esala Perahera will always be inquisitive to find out on how many elephants will join the procession today. And now following the Indiraja Tusker, we are seeing the arrival of the very first Hevisi troupe that represents the official musical ensemble who are permanently seconded to the service of the Sri Dalada Maligava.
They perform, in fact, no Panchaturya Vadana or traditional orchestra of Sinhalese music that produce sounds using either drums or other musical instruments is permitted before the Hevisi as per the rule of the Kandian Perahera tradition.
Sri Lanka is rich with its own genres of traditional music, and Hevisi, which is dignified as the authentic sound of Sri Lanka. The history of Hevisi takes us back to the time when the sapling of the Jai Sri Mahabodhi tree was brought down to Sri Lanka by Sangamitha Therini. And this evidence marks the fact that Hevisi is the oldest traditional orchestra and Buddhist sound offering in Sri Lankan heritage.
Hevisi, as the most prominent orchestra of the five-fold musical instruments, too has its own variants that are authentic to various parts of the country known as Up-country, Low-country and Sabaragama. The speciality of the Kandy Esala Perahera is the pure domination of Up-country traditional arts, wherefore this Pat Sinhala.
The musicianship of Hevisi in the Kandy Esala Perahera and for the daily rituals of the Sri Dalada Maligava are assigned to the most skilled lineages of Hevisi drummers who are Udavela, Ihalavela, Malagammana and Molagoda, who represented the first row of the Hevisi troupe while marching to the beat of the drums. Apart from the key lineages which I mentioned before, we also see the presence of other Hevisi lineages in this Perahera, representing Valletota, Moradanda, Hevavissa, Kahalla and Udupihilla.
Hevisi is in fact the predominant form of music that is used for religious veneration in Buddhism and Buddhist affiliated gods in Sri Lanka. And this orchestra too has its own differences, not just in traditional but according to situations. When the sacred relic casket is carried out from the sandal chamber, the situational variant of puja, hevisi, shall be played. And this shall change the Vadammana hevisi when the relic casket is being carried towards the ceremonial tusker.
Once again, Hirava Valinadaya shall be played when the royal tusker shall step down to the moonstone and thereby change to the Gaman Hevisiya with the commencement of the Perahera.
It is an interesting fact from history that in ancient times the sacred tooth relic had been considered as a private property of the king, and the public had never been permitted in having a chance of worshipping it. It was indeed the thankful move by King Kirti Sri Rajasingha who declared that the relics need to be taken in procession for the public to witness and venerate and seek for blessings.
The tune of Hevisi is believed to be spiritually healing the ill and creates an immense satisfaction to stay within the Dalada Maligava premises during the daily offering times or the Tevava, as the entire surrounding of this temple of the truth gets filled with the symphonic sound of Hevisi, which dives deep into our blood and creates a patriotic feeling about ourselves, our religion, our culture, and our traditions.
Riding on the second elephant with dignified majesty is the Gajanayaka Nilame of Sri Dalada Maligava. You're seeing the entrance of Gajanayaka Nilame on the second elephant of the Kandy Esala Perahera. The Gajanayaka Nilame is the royal official in charge of the king's troop of elephants, and it was a position given to him directly by the king himself. To symbolize this ancient decree, the Gajanayaka Nilame, who is attired in the traditional Sinhala Mulamama, majestically approaches on a tusker while holding the Ankus or the Ankusaya, which is official symbol of the Gajanayaka Nilame.
And this tusker who is carrying the Gajanayaka Nilame is Raja, belonging to Venerable Alutnuwara Anuruddha Thero, the chief incumbent of the Kotte Rajamahaviharaya. Kotte Minister of Foreign Affairs, Mr. Rohitha Bogolagama. According to the Perahera tradition, the Gajanayaka Nilame obtains the Ankas from the Diyavadana Nilame after bowing down in respect and obtaining his blessings. It is the custom of the Perahera that no official shall proceed in the Perahera without the blessings or symbol that is handed over by the respective lay guardian.
Now you are seeing the glamorous entrance of the Kothala Padaya dancing troupe, which is being led by Mr. Nalin Jayasekara of Sri Dalada Malikawa.
Kothala Padaya is one of the most gentle dance performances of the upcountry tradition of dance, which is traditionally a dance of purity. The dancers carry a pot of saffron water on one hand and an arecanut flower on the other hand, and this dance symbolizes purifying the root in which the sacred tooth relic casket shall be carried.
The Kothala Padaya is in fact a ritualistic dance that is performed in healing rituals or Shanti Karma across upcountry, low country and Sabaragamo traditions, and here we are seeing the upcountry version of the Kothala Padaya, which originates from the Kohaba Kankarya healing ritual as one of the 4 Hat Padaya or 7 dance episodes that comprise of the Bulat Padaya, Kothala Padaya, Mal Padaya, Salu Padaya, Pol Padaya, Yahan Mutti Padaya and Anguru Dummala Padaya.
Saffron water, where saffron is in fact considered as a natural purifier in our native traditions, which is still believed and practiced even in these modern times.
The first dance item of Sri Dalada Malikawa Perahera, this Kothala Padaya dance, will be representation of the Uddarata Hat Padaya, focused on either the Bulat Padaya dance or the Kothala Padaya dance. And interestingly, this Kothala Padaya dance had been included in the Esala Perahera in the means of a performance-based dance only from a very recent history since the year
Esala Perahera 2023. On the mount of this elephant, we are seeing an official carrying a Buddhist flag, which is purely to symbolize the fact that this procession is truly a Buddhist festival. And marching in utmost pride is the elephant Banda, who belongs to the Honorable Diyavadana Nilame of the Sri Dalada Malikawa, Honorable Pradeep Nilangadala. Banda is in fact one of the most senior elephants who shall take part in the Kandy Esala Perahera. We could notice how Banda bites his trunk while walking in majesty, and elephants of Kandy were trained to bite their trunk as part of their walk during the times. The Honorable Diyavadana Nilame of the Sri Dalada Malikawa in fact has 2 elephants, Raja, and he is the second elephant, who is Banda, who hails from the Godella Valauva in Ratnapura. And this is the entrance of the next dance performance.
the next dance performance, which is the Chamara dance troupe, which is led by the Chandananda Buddhist College, is now before you. The ancient poetic anthology that was written during the kingdom of Kotte, that is famously known as the Salalihini Sandesha quotes that white tassels in motion along with majestic elephants are one of the supreme sights of auspicious visualities, and the Chamara dance is certainly an inclusion to add more auspicious value to this Perahera.
Chamara is a popular upcountry folk dance that is one of the most visually mesmerizing dance acts of the Perahera this evening. The Chamara is in fact a white tussled object that was used historically as a fanning tool to the sacred tooth relic, sacred requiraries, and prominent individuals, including the royalties.
You are witnessing these charmer dancers swinging these white tassels in various stances. And it creates a soothing visual to the audience, but also remind the audience of the ancient times in which the charmer played in a prominent role in cooling ourselves in the absence of the modern day equipment that we are using today.
The tussles are fanned to the rhythm of the flute and the Kandian drums, where we see the gentle cool breeze that is produced by these charmera, which brings a very pleasant feeling. In fact, this was a regular feature of the royal courts in our ancient history.
A certain degree of teeth each other to maintain the visual consistency of this dance art. And you will be witnessing another similar tussle dance that is similar to the charmer dance that you are seeing now, it will be known as savarang dance, where the difference lies in the tool itself, since the savarama has not just one but two tussles attached on either side of the object, unlike the charmer, which has one tussle.
Next up, we are seeing another majestic elephant of the second Kumbal Perahera, and this elephant is Kandula Veera, belonging to Venerable Kanangama Narada Thero, the chief incumbent of the Kaduwela Sankapiti Vihare in Kotalawala. Kandula Veera was once the mascot of the Sri Lanka Army by the former minister Vimal Veeravansha.
Following Kandula, Now you're witnessing the entrance of the Nayandi dance troupe, which is being led by Mr. Vasanta Gunatilaka. The Nayandi dance is one of the most significant dance performances of the upcountry tradition that holds a very prominent position in the Kandy Esala Perahera, especially during the Kumbal Perahera festivities. If you look at the meaning of the word Nayandi, the name of the costume that is worn by the Nayandi dancers, which is the same costume that is worn by the Kandian West dancer, turban, with a knot on the head center that is taking the shape of a cobra.
The most revealing narration of the Esala Perahera is found in the book written by the Chinese pilgrim Fa Hien in the 5th century. And now we see two young tuskers of the Sri Dalada Maliga Perahera. On one side we see the tusker Sindhu belonging to Venerable Tibbatuave Sri Siddhartha Sumangala Thero, the Mahanayaka Thero of the Malvatta chapter, and Raju belonging to Venerable Warakagoda Sri Nanratana Thero, the Mahanayaka Thero of the Askiriya chapter, both representing the great Shyamopali Mahanikaya, which holds the administrative authority of the Sri Dalada Maligava. Both of these tuskers were gifted in the year 2009 by the former President Mr. Mahinda Rajapaksha.
Mixed folk dance, which is being led by Mr. PCB Vijay Surya. Traditional dancing in Sri Lanka is segregated into two main types, which are Shastriya Nattu, or dance performances that are based on healing rituals, and the other being Gami Nattu, or folk dance performances.
The dance we see now is a remarkable fusion of not just one, but 4 different folk dance performances being danced simultaneously in the same spotlight.
This dance is represented as one team, but we could carefully observe how they break themselves into sub-teams among themselves based on their designated dance. It is true that it is the same music that is being played for the whole group, but this music plays the tune for 4 different dance acts that involve 4 different props and 4 different steps of dance, which are being carefully presented to maintain their cultural identity.
In this act, we see the dance artists representing 4 different folk dances, which are the Thalampata, the Likeli, Rabang, and the Savarang, which we would see being performed as individual dance items across the 5 segments of this majestic Perahera. And this dance act is certainly a snapshot of the beauty of the Sri Lankan folk culture, And now we see the entrance of one of the greatest elephants of the Dalada Perahera this evening. And this is the elephant Gajaba, belonging to Mr. Ranjit Vijay Singha, who is certainly one of the most glamorous icons of the second Kumbal Perahera this evening. And you are seeing an aerial image of the heritage city of Kandy, which is lit up in bright colors to escort the great Kandy Esala Perahera that is taking place this year for the 1713th occasion as part of the King's Order, according to the traditions that have continued since history. The sporadic invasions of the Dravidians resulted in the shift of the Kandian kingdom from Anuradhapura to several destinations: Polonnaruwa, Dambadeniya, Yapahuwa, Kurunagala, Kotte and Gampala, and with the final shift of the Kandian kingdom to this great city of Kandy, the relics have remained undisturbed, and thereby the Kandy Esala Perahera has been held annually to rejoice and honor the sacred tooth relic.
Now we are seeing the glamorous performance of the Pantheru dancers, which is being led by Mr. Sarath Vijay Siri. The Pantheruwa you are seeing now is a musical instrument that is used as a rhythm tool across all three traditions of upcountry, low country and Sabaragamu, but the Pantheru dance is exclusively belonging to the Udarata or upcountry tradition of dance.
Since the 18th century, the instrument was used for the development of the semi-classical dance form, which is an art that was passed down from generation to generation. The dance is classified as a Gananatuma as per the theory of the Panchaturyanadaya, since the Pantheru is an instrument belonging to the Gana classification, as it needs to be dashed in order to be instrumented. Here we see the arrival of two of the most majestic tuskers of the Dalada Maligaon procession. On one side we see the great tusker Vasana belonging to the Ruhunu Maha Kataragama Devalaya, and along with him we see the tusker Burumaraja belonging to the Sri Dalada Maligaon stables. In fact, both Vasana and Burumaraja were lucky tuskers who are destined with the ability to carry the sacred relic Kamaraja, performing this great duty in utmost majesty.
Following the two tuskers, now we are seeing the entrance of the most glamorous West dance troupe, which is being led by Mr. Ishanta Ihalavela and Lasantha Vanasekara.
The most unique and the most recognized presentation of the Kandian dance heritage is the most fully adorned West Natua of the Kandian West dancer. The Kandian dancer's skill and dance form have been considered as an auspicious expression of Sri Lankan culture.
The West dance is more than just a ritual. It is a sacred recitation for protection against misfortune. So as we mentioned, West dance are also considered sacred. This most glamorous costume symbolically represents the regalia of the king, Malaya, the royalty who performed the ancient ritual of Hatapas Mangalya, which is a healing ceremony that was held 2,500 years ago.
In fact, it is the icon of the West dancer who is the branding identity of traditional Sri Lankan dancing across the seven seas, despite the presence of many artistic dance performances that are authentic to traditional Sri Lankan dance. It is amusing to hear that this is the same picture that is illustrated on anyone's mind when they hear the phrase Sri Lankan dance. We are now at the much awaited and the most devout moment of the Perahera, as now we see the royal tusker ceremoniously carrying the Perahera relic casket, guarded by the Dala elephants, sprinkled by jasmine flowers, and officiated by the royalties, escorted by these West dancers.
Escorting the ceremonial tusker and the Dala elephants, we see the Karya Karavana Chorale.
The very special orchestra that leads the relic casket are the Nagasingham instrumentalists, who are Indian influences ensemble of music. And this evening the royal tusker will be Singharaja, belonging to the Sri Dalada Maligava, and he is accompanied by the tuskers Miyan Raja, belonging to the Sri Dalada Maligava, and Kandula, belonging to the Kalaniya Rajamahaviharaya. This is the Chamber of Versifiers, or the Kavikara Maduwa, the group of poets who walk behind the relic casket while singing the virtues of Lord Buddha.
These versifiers are holding several instruments, including the pump, when the relic casket is taken out of the relic chamber. And once again, you're witnessing the performance of the West dancers which is being led by Mr. Sanjeeva Verapitiya and Peter Surasena. When we look at the West dance, it was in the 4th century BC when the first ever Hatapas Mangalya was performed in Sri Lanka by the Malaya king to cure Devidos or godly curse that had been bestowed upon King Panduvasdeva, who is in fact a descendant of King Vijaya, the Indian prince who discovered the island of Sri Lanka as Tambapani. The story of King Vijaya and his tribal wife Kuweni is in fact,
According to history, Kuweni was a princess of the Yaksha tribe in Sri Lanka who became the wife of King Vijaya upon his arrival to Sri Lanka, being the first young lady who he witnesses just after discovering this copper-sanded land of Sri Lanka. Unfortunately, it was a sad incident when Kuweni was betrayed by King Vijaya, which led to a devastated Kuweni who was left out with both her children, being frustrated with pressure, which led to Kuweni cursing the King Vijaya and his descendants, which ultimately affected King Panduvasdeva, who was a relative of King Vijaya.
known as Devidos was not cured of King Panduvasdeva, for which he invited the Malay king from India to perform the healing ritual named Hatapas Mangalya to dispel this curse subjected to continue the Hatapas Mangalya to be performed, and its responsibility was delegated to a village youth named Kohomba before his return to India.
The role of these troupe of West dancers are to escort the way for the Diyavadana Nilame. And the specialty of the Kumbal Perahera is that we see the Diyavadana Nilame only walking in the first Kumbal Perahera, and the rest of the Kumbal processions are being graced by the Basnayaka Nilames of the Satara Mahadevalaya. In this evening of the second Kumbal Perahera, representing the Diyavadana Nilame of the Sri Dalada Maligava, we see the Basnayaka Nilame of the Sri Mahanatha Devalaya in Kandy, AWS Bandaranayaka, gracing the procession. Basnayaka Nilame AWS Bandaranayaka is in fact the inaugural Basnayaka Nilame of the Sri Mahanatha Devalaya in Kandy, and he also serves as the lay custodian of the Ambekya Kataragama Devalaya in Pilimatalawa. While that marks the end of the procession of the Sri Dalada Maligava, we are seeing the commencement of the Sri Mahanatha Esala Perahera. This is the devout moment in which the requilleries of God Natha is being carried out of the shrine. The Sri Mahanatha Devalaya in Kandy is located right in front of the Sri Dalada Maligava, where it is considered as the main shrine that was dedicated towards Lord Natha, and one of the oldest buildings in Kandy that was built even before the Sri Dalada Maligava. The procession of the Sri Natha Devalaya is the first to follow the Dalada Perahera due to the belief that God Natha is next in line to attain Buddhahood.
And now you are seeing the entrance of the Buddhist flag bearers who will be gracing the Natha Esala Perahera of Kandy Esala Perahera 2023.
And these flag bearers are being represented by the civil security officers of Pallekele. The well-known fact behind God Natha is the belief that he is the next in line to attain Buddhahood as Maitri Bodhisattva, where he is also identified as Avalokiteshvara in Indian cults. And this is the mere reason why we see Buddhist flags being led in the procession of God Natha to symbolize the Buddhist affiliation that God Natha shares with Buddhism.
The Buddhist flag you are seeing right now was jointly redesigned by Mr. J.R. De Silva and the Colonel Henry Steele Olcott to mark the revival of Buddhism in Ceylon. This flag was accepted as the International Buddhist flag in 1952 at the World Buddhist Congress.
Following the flag bearers of the Sri Mahanatha Devalaya now
Just like how the KFC troop of the Sri Dalada Maligava procession engages in their own voting offerings, the KFC troops of the four Devala Peraharas are the actual lineages who still perform in the daily, weekly, monthly and annual rites rituals of the particular Devala. As KFC is not just a part of Sri Dalada Maligava's rituals, but is also similarly important to the offerings of the Devala shrines as the main Shabda Puja or offering towards the respective god. Interestingly, the tunes that are played by these ensembles are the ones that are unique to the respective Devalaya.
The fivefold musical instruments as recognized by the Sri Lankan music culture as the Panchatur Rinada is noted as Atata, which are instruments played by both hands, Vitata, instruments played using sticks, Vitatatata, instruments played using hands and the stick, Gana, instruments that are dashed with each other, and Sushira, which are the instruments that are blown. This arrangement of the upcountry ensemble of Hevisi consists of 4 out of the 5 mentioned tunes, except for the Gataberea that represents the Atata tune. If we would identify the other instruments that are being played here, we see the Horanava or the traditional windpipe that represents the tune of Susira, the Thammatama or the kettle drum that represents the tune of Vitata, the Daula that represents the tune of Vitatatata, and the Thalampata, the little hand cymbals that represent the tune of Gana. The beauty of the Hevisi evolves when all of these instruments are played together to make a symphonic sound. And now we see the first elephant of the Sri Mahanatha Esala Perahera who carries an official with the flag of God Natha. And this elephant is Rohana, belonging to Mr. Varuna Kannangar, who will be the ceremonial elephant of this procession towards the Randoli processions that are yet to come.
Next in line, you are seeing the Savarang dance troupe, which is being led by Mr. Dilshan Shalika and the dance team of Arya Aesthetic Academy.
Dance items which involve these tussles are used quite often in the Perahera, but this is not the usual Chamara dance that we witnessed previously. This dance, which is recognized as a Savarang dance, is similar to Chamara, but with the difference of the prop that is being used.
The Savarama, the main tool used by these dancers, consists of not one but two tassels attached on both its ends, which makes it a longer version of the Chamara instrument we saw at the main Perahera. However, the Savarama tool is meant to serve the same purpose as the Chamara, which is to fan and cool the impending icon of worship, which was traditionally the king and today the relic casket or the reliquaries of God.
The choreography of this folk dance that is styled of the upcountry tradition is designed to symbolize fanning that is performed using different dance steps, different stances, and the visual beauty that is created by these tussles in motion are surely a soothing sight to the eye. The dance is performed as a team, and just as other folk dance performances, this Savarang dance too shows several episodes of breaking down into subgroups. And now we see two elephants of the Sri Mahanatha Esala Perahera. On one side we see the elephant Chula, belonging to Venerable Bengamue Dhamma Magistrate Mr. Tilina Gamage of Maharagama. We often see the color yellow that is associated with the procession of God Natha. Is there any particular reason why we see the color associated with God Natha, Pasasna?
Yes, I believe that the color yellow is believed to be the skin tone of God Natha, so that is why the color of the elephants who are walking in the Sri Mahanatha Esala Perahera are dressed in the color yellow.
Next up, we see the Leekeli dance performance, which is being led by Mr. H.M.P. Upali Dharmaratna of the Shashikala Aesthetic Academy. Following this vibrant Leekeli dance, which certainly takes us back to the practicing affairs of warfare, we see the elephants Kandula belonging to Mr. Roshan Samarakkodi of Maharagama, who works along with the elephant Sama belonging to Venerable Uduwe Dhamma Lokathero, the chief incumbent of the Alan Methiniyarama temple in Kirlapana. Elephants take part in the Kandy Esala Perahera not just from Kandy, like how it used to happen in the historic days. Attends take part in the Kandy Esala Perahera in devotion of the gods they respect.
Following that, we are now seeing the Nayandi dance troupe of Sri Mahanatha Esala Perahera, which is being led by Mr. Asanka Karunaratna. The word Nayandi is in fact the name of the costume that is worn by the Nayandi dancers, which is the same costume that is worn by the Kandian West dancers with the exclusion of the devoted headdress that is replaced with a cloth turban. The Nayandi dance is said to be belonging to classification of Rupanatum, due to its visual richness in attraction, and this dance is also known as Adaves, meaning half of the West costume, and at that times even known as Tanikachi, that relates to the special head turban that is worn by the Nayandi dancers.
The legend of God Natha takes us down through many cults in Buddhism, including the Mahayana and the Theravada traditions, where he is predominantly associated as the future Buddha. In the Sri Lankan history, there are recorded evidence of mentions of God Natha in the Sandesha of Thisara, Gira and Koul, where God Natha was one of the prime deities who was seeked by the ancient kings of Sri Lanka, who shall be carrying the requilleries of Lord Natha. This evening, the requilleries of Lord Natha are being carried by the ceremonial elephant Arjuna, belonging to Venerable Karatota Panyasiha Theru, the chief incumbent of the Vaurukannala Budu Rajamaha Vihara in Dikwella, and Arjuna is accompanied by the elephant Kandula, belonging to Venerable Devalegama Dhammasena Theru, the chief incumbent of the Tissa Maharama Rajamaha Vihara in Hambantota, and the elephant Bandara, belonging to Mr. Amal Tilakaratna of Randeniya in Kegol. And let us now take this moment to feel and worship the virtues of Lord Natha. As that marks the end of the procession of the Natha Devalaya, we are seeing the commencement of the Sri Mahavishnu Esala Perahera.
And now what you're witnessing is the auspicious moment of the godly requilleries being carried out for the Sri Mahavishnu Esala Perahera.
Here we see the arrival of the state flags, which are represented to signify a very special fact. The only collection that are being carried in the procession of the Sri Mahavishnu Devalaya would be the Palat Kodi, that signifies the fact that Lord Vishnu is the guardian of Sri Lanka, and his eye is being shadowed upon all of these states and counties. And now we see the flag of the Satara Koralaya, known as the Irahanda Kodiya, being majestically carried by the elephant Taraka, belonging to the chief prelate of the Kaduwela Sri Rankadupatthini Devalaya, Mr. Kularatna Vijayatunga. Taraka is certainly one of the most majestic additions to the Vishnu Devala procession, as he shall march with his majestic head raised, and certainly one of the truly majestic icons of the entire Perahera this evening. Taraka was gifted to the Kaduwela Sri Ran President of Sri Lanka, Mr. Ranil Wickramasinghe. Next up, we are seeing the Hevisa troop of the Sri Mahavishnu Devalaya, which is led by Mr. Saman Arambegedara.
So Nilesh, we have seen his KBC performances a couple of times in the main program, but it is still fascinating to know how all of the blend of all these instruments individually contribute to the symphonic sound of the overall ensemble.
The Havisi troupe of the Sri Mahavishnu Devalaya is notably special among the other Havisi troupes, as we see throughout the procession based on several importances. As we know, the inaugural ritual of the Esala Perahera is the cup situina, or the planting of jack in the auspicious hour, and this piece of jack plant is being cut from the village of Alutnuwara that is located in the footsteps of Kadugannawa, which marks the entrance to the district of Kandy and is also known for the Alutnuwara Sri Dadimunda Devalaya, that is the main shrine in Sri Lanka dedicated to Lord Dadimunda. The chosen piece of jack plant of copper is ceremoniously brought all the way from the Alutnuwara Dadimunda Devalaya premises to the Dadimunda Devalaya in Kandy on the mount of a tusker along a distance of 25 kilometers. The Dadimunda Devalaya in Kandy is located in the Sri Mahavishnu Devalaya premises itself, and this is where the main piece of jack plant shall be cut into 4 equal quarters and distributed in the other 3 Devalaya shrines on the mount of 3 tuskers.
By King Senarath in between 1604 to 1635, during the time in which the Uppulvan Devalaya in Alutnuwara was destroyed by the Portuguese in midst of the Kandyan invasion. With the rulers of the Nayakar clan, who are Indian origin, took over Sri Lanka, the Uppulvan Devalaya was transformed to a Vishnu Devalaya based upon their origins of belief.
And now we see the arrival of 2 young tuskers who are certainly one of the icons of the Sri Mahavishnu Esala Perahera. They are Mihin Raja and Rohan Raja, belonging to Mr. Neville Vanyarachi of Kotte. Just as how we saw the color of yellow associated with the Sri Mahanatha Devalaya, it is special that we see the color blue associated with the Sri Mahavishnu Esala Perahera, and I believe there's a legend behind this as well.
Indeed, Nilesh. So, as we all know, the god Vishnu is also known as Uppulvan, and it is believed because the complexion of the Lord Vishnu, the god Vishnu, was very dark. So, representing his dark complexion, I believe the color blue is representing the Sri Mahavishnu Devalaya and the god Vishnu until today. So maybe that is the reason, and that is the reason to which these elephants and all those other elements are being...
That is being represented by Mr. K.G. Dharmasiri, who represents the Kodituakku lineage. Interestingly, the Pantheru which we see has a connection with Lord Vishnu, as there's a belief that this instrument actually descends from the Chakrayuda, that is one of the weapons held by Lord Vishnu. And these 3 elephants are Bandara, belonging to Mr. Sisira Samarakona of Polgahavela, Sanju, belonging to Mr. Jagat Vitana of Matugama, and Sandev Raja, belonging to Mr. Pradeep Miyanapala of Mavanella. In fact, Banda is one of the most senior elephants of the Sri Mahavishnu Esala Perahera, and he is accompanied by 2 of the most young elephants of the Sri Mahavishnu Esala procession. And this is one of the most senior junior affiliations that we see as a collaboration in the Perahera this evening.
we are seeing another beautiful sight of Sri Dalada Maligava, Kandy, which is being lighted up to celebrate the glory of Kandy Esala Perahera of year 2023. It is an interesting fact from history that in the ancient times, the sacred tooth relic has been considered a private property of the king, and the public had never been permitted in having a chance of worshipping it. So as we have now got the chance to celebrate the privilege of worshipping it, it was indeed because of the thankful move by Kirti Sri Rajasinghe, who declared that the relics need to be taken in procession for the public to witness and venerate in seek for blessings. And now we are seeing the most awaited moment of the Sri Mahavishnu Devalaya Perahera, which is the ceremonial tusker carrying the godly ornaments of God Vishnu, and as it marks the end of the Sri Mahavishnu Devalaya procession of Kandy Esala Perahera 2023. Today is the second Kumal Perahera of the Kandy Esala Perahera, which is taking place for the 1713th time since its history. And now we are seeing the commencement of Sri Mahakataragama Devala Perahera of the second Kumbal Perahera of Kandy Esala Perahera Mangalaya, which is happening in the year 2023.
Now we see the arrival of Buddhist flag bearers of the Sri Mahakataragama Devalaya in Kandy. In fact, we have several types of shrines that are dedicated towards gods in Sri Lanka, which are predominantly known as Devala and Kovil. And the difference between the Devala and Kovil tradition is the fact that the Devalayas are more affiliated towards Kandy is in fact an affiliation site with Buddhism, which is the reason why we see Buddhist flags leading this procession.
Once again, going back to the story of Sri Mahakataragama Devala Perahera, this Kataragama Devalaya in Kandy too practices a variety of Tamil-influenced rituals, such as the annual Theru festival that takes place annually in the month of June, and the chief priest or icon of the shrine is not less, especially with the administration headed by a Sinhalese Basnayaka Nilame, and the Buddhist temple that is located within Devala premises, and that what makes this shrine as a Devalaya instead of a traditional kovil.
Leading the procession of the Sri Mahakataragama Devalaya is the elephant Gamunu, who belongs to Mr. Ratnasiri Arangalla of Veyangoda. Gamunu is in fact a very special elephant of Sri Lanka, not just in the procession of God Kataragama. In fact, Gamunu is one of the last auctioned elephants in Sri Lanka, the Sri Lankan domestic elephants in the country.
In following Gamunu, you are now seeing the Hevesi troupe, which is being led by Mr. P.D. James. And the Hevesi troupe is represented by the officials of Sri Maha Kataragama Devalaya, Kandy. It was previously mentioned about how Hevesi has its situational variants apart from its regional differences, and such differences include Kemmura, Yama, Puja, Hevesi, Hevesi Paha, Dura and Titmatras Hevesi. Situational variants are interesting to notice and identify since the drumming and
Followed by the Hevesi troupe of the Sri Maha Kataragama Esala Perahera, we are seeing the arrival of a Savarang dance troupe. And this troupe of Savarang is represented by Mr. KPNG Kumara, who represent the Nitya Aesthetic Academy.
If you look at the legend of Lord Kataragama is known as the god of war, and he's a divine deity who is worshipped as Skanda Kumara, Karthikeya or Murugan in South Indian tradition. It is believed that Lord Kataragama is the younger son of Lord Shiva and goddess Parvati, and he is considered as an important deity in the Indian subcontinent since ancient times, worshipped as Mahasena and Kumara in North India, and is predominantly worshipped in the state of Tamil Nadu and other parts of South India, Sri Lanka, Singapore.
Kataragama too has a weapon that is unique to himself, that is known as the Velayudha, along with other symbols such as the peacock and the color red, according to Richard Gombrich. And now we see the Nayandi dance troupe of the Sri Maha Kataragama Devalaya, who are tasked with escorting the ceremonial elephant, who shall carry the requilleries of Lord Kataragama.
And this Nayandi troupe is led by Mr. Gayashan Malagamana of Malagamana Art Academy.
We of the Sri Maha Kataragama Devalaya, who we see walking right in front of the ceremonial elephant. Can we know who this is?
That is the Iyer of Sri Maha Kataragama Devalaya in Kandy, right?
Who is in fact the chief priest of the Sri Maha Kataragama Devalaya. He is indeed an official of Indian origin, who is taking this role in many generations since history. This evening in the second Kumbal Perahera, the requilleries of Lord Katharagama are being carried by the elephant Esala, belonging to Venerable Katugastota Sarada Thero, the chief incumbent of the Senanayaka Mudalindarama. This live broadcast of the second Kumbal Perahera is brought to you by the Media and Special Projects Bureau of the Sri Dalada Maligava. While that marks the end of the Sri Maha Katharagama Esala Perahera, this is the commencement of the final episode of this evening's Perahera, that is the procession of the Sri Maha Pattini Devalaya.
And now, what you're witnessing now is the moment where the godly requilleries of Goddess Patmini has been taken out for the procession.
The first item which we see in the Sri Maha Pattini Esala Perahera is the official Hevisi troupe that is dedicated towards the service of Lord Goddess Pattini of this shrine that is dedicated in Kandy.
Mr. M.G. Premadasa, representing the officials who are in service of the Sri Maha Pattini Devalaya in Kandy. If you look at the story of Sri Maha Pattini Devalaya, this Devalaya is the only shrine of the Kandian Satara Mahadevalaya that is dedicated to the virtuous goddess Pattini, who is also the only female representation among the guardian deities of the sacred tooth relic. This Devalaya is located in the premises of the Sri Dalada Maligava, which can be easily reached via Deva Vidya, and that is separated from the Sri Mahanatha Devalaya from the ancient Advidya, which used to be the resting ground for the royal elephants.
The structure of the Kandy Esala Perahera starts off with the Kapsituega, 5 nights of the internal processions, 5 nights of Kumbal Perahera, 5 nights of Randoli Perahera, and the day procession. And here we are in the second procession, which is the second Kumbal Perahera. Leading the way of the Sri Maha Pattini, Manike is also one of the very few elephants who shall walk all the way from Kegol to Kandy to take part in the Kandy Esala Perahera, unlike many other elephants who use transport. And now we see one of the pot dancers which we see for the very first time in the Sri Maha Pattini Esala Perahera. And this troupe of pot dancers are being represented by Miss Anoja Veerakon of the Nilmini Aesthetic Academy of Kadugannava. The pot dance, which is known as Kalagedi in Sinhalese, is in fact a folk dance that represents the lifestyle of women in villages. It primarily focuses the bond that the ladies share with the pot, which they use for their daily routine activities, and the audience can get a picture how the traditional Sri Lankan lady lives a lifestyle with the pot, which she associates for most of her youth.
Sri Maha Pattini Esala Perahera is the only item in Kandy Esala Perahera which is dedicated to a female goddess or a deity.
And such is a female elephant who we see marching up next. And this is the elephant Sita, belonging to Mr. Roshan Samarakkodi of Maharagama. And following Sita, we are seeing a Talam dance performance. And this Talam dance act is been represented by Miss Takshila Sirivardhana of the Takshila Aesthetic Academy of Yatihalagala.
This instrument that the female dancers are holding right now, it is called thalampata, or it is a small set of cymbals that create a vital instrument used in all forms of traditional dancing in Sri Lanka, Titmatra. But here is the Thalam dance considers these little cymbals as the main prop itself, where the dancers play the cymbals in denoted rhythm, which aligns the footwork and hand movements accordingly.
Following up next is two elephants who are actually indeed very good friends with each other. And on one side we see the elephant Tarindu belonging to Venerable Kobawaka Dhamminda Thero of the Kataragama Kiriveher Rajamaha Vihara, who walks alongside with Raja belonging to Mr. Asanka Vijay Singh of Balangoda. Anyone who can visit Kandy these days can certainly take a glimpse of the friendly bond that is shared between Tarindu and Raja. And following that, we are seeing another special dance act which can only be seen in the procession of Goddess Pattini, and this is the Goyam Natuma, or the mixed folk dance.
And this troupe is trained and led by Miss Takshila Sirivardhana of Takshila Art Academy of Yatihalagala. And there is a very special reason that we see this Goyam dance, the Sri Mahapattini Devala Perahera today. Goddess Pattini is also affiliated as the goddess of prosperity, and the said virtue of prosperity is symbolized in the Perahera in the form of this agrarian dance that depicts the root of prosperity in our. The agricultural dance which we call as the Goyam Natuma is Sinhalese is a beautiful illustration of the village folks who are engaging in their role in agricultural activities. As we know, Sri Lanka is known since history as the granary of the East, a country that is blessed with the soils that can flourish any crop, and this is the same reason why Sri Lanka was powerful in its primary sector of economy.
And now we see another graceful elephant of the Sri Maha. Manike belongs to Mrs. Shriyani Gunawardana of Dangovita and is considered as one of the most routine participants of the Sri Mahapattini Devala Perahera. Following Dangovita elephant, we are seeing the final Nayandi dance troupe, who are tasked with escorting the ceremonial elephant of the Sri Mahapattini Devalaya. And this troupe of Nayandi dancers are being trained and led by Mr. Mithun Bandara of the Mithun Bandara Aesthetic Academy of Watapulluwa. in front of the ceremonial troop of elephants. And let us take a moment to witness the ceremonial elephants of the Sri Mahapattini Devalaya, led by the elephant Mangala, belonging to Mr. Udaragalapati of Giriyulla, who has been performing the ceremonial role of Goddess Pattini for over 15 years. And today Mangala is being escorted by the elephants Rani, belonging to Mr. Richard Gonakumbura of Balangoda, and the elephant Parami, belonging to Mr. Samantha Vijayaman of Madagoda. And that marks the end of the second Kumbal Perahera of the Kandy Esala Perahera 2023.
We hope that our country will be blessed with fertility and rains.
May our country prosper. Dalada Samindu Pihitai.
වමින් පෙරහැර පවත්වති දෙවියෝ ඔබේ නමින්
ආයුබෝවන් උතුම් දළදා සමුදු පිහිටයි ආරක්ෂාවයි රැකවරණයි සැමට ප්‍රාර්ථනා කරමින් 2023 අවුරුද්දේ තුන්වන කුඹල් පෙරහැර මංගල්‍යයේ වීදි සරන්නට සියල්ල සූදානම්. 7:02ට යෙදුණු සුබ මුහූර්තයෙන් දකුණු දිශාභිමුඛව පෙරහැර ආරම්භ වෙනවා. ඉන්දිරාජා විසින් පෙරහැර කරඬුව වැඩමවීම ඉටු කරනු ලබනවා. ශාස්ත්‍රීයත්වයේම කරන කොටගෙන අපේ රටට යහපතම වේවා, මුළු ලොවටම යහපතම වේවා. අනන්‍ය සම ජාතියක් ඉන්නවා නම් පෙරහැර මංගල්‍යය ඉටු කරන්නට ඒ අපමයි. ඒ නිසා උතුම් වූ වාමශ්‍රී දන්ස්ත්‍රා ධාතුන් වහන්සේ අභිමුව සිදු කරන්නා වූ අසිරිමත් පෙරහැර මංගල්‍යය ඔබ වීදිවල සිට නරඹනවා. හැබැයි වීදිවල සිට නරඹන්නේ නැති ඔබ සැමටම ලොව පුරා සිටින සැමටම අප රූපකාව්‍යයක් ලෙස මෙය ගෙනෙන්නට සූදානම්. සයිබ ගගනත ඔස්සේ ලොව කොතනක සිටියත් ඔබ මේ පෙරහැර සමගින් වග අප ගන්නවා. ඒ නිසා රැඳෙන්න මේ තුන්වන කුඹල් පෙරහැර මංගල්‍ය වීදි සරණ මොහොතේ. கோஷிகன்
நன்றி ஜெயநாத். அனைவருக்கும் அனைவரையும் வருக வருக என வரவேற்பதோடு இக்காட்சிகளை காண முடியாதவர்கள் டயலாக் தொலைக்காட்சி 119 பிஓடிவி 20 310 ஃப்ரீசட் 2 மற்றும் தலதா மாளிகையினுடைய Facebook யூடியூப் தளங்களினூடாக கண்டுகளிக்க முடியும். இது அசல பெரஹரா அனைவரும் வருக. சந்துலி இதோ உங்களுக்கான வாய்ப்பு.
Thank you, Goshigan, the grandest cultural marvel of the nation. The third Kumbal Perahera of Sri Danda Perahera 2023 is about to start the street perambulations. Today, the lead tusker Indiraja, along with all the other great tuskers, are ready to embellish this grand procession. As always, the beauty, the grandeur of this great procession will be enhanced by the elegant Kandian dancers. So, this invitation goes to all of you. Stay tuned with us, witness this magnificent spiritual sensation.
Dalada Samindu Pihitai. We are delighted to welcome you to the special live broadcast of the third Kumbal Perahera of the Kandy Esala Perahera 2023, brought to you by the Media and Special Projects Bureau of the Sri Dalata Malikawa, Kandy.
You are now seeing the Perahera officials obtaining the permission and blessings of the Diyavadana Nilame, the lay custodian of the sacred tooth relic, before commencing their street perambulations. Diyavadana Nilame to the officiating bhikkhus.
Now the Diyavadana Nilame will be making his way from the upper level Ihalamalaya to the lower level of the chamber known as Pathamalaya of the Vadasitina Malikaya, and he is seen ceremoniously and reverentially carrying the Perahera casket under the protection of the custodian venerating prelate of the Malvadu Maration amidst the offering of light, sounds, scents and flowers all the way the upper chamber till it is placed on the awaiting tasker.
Now we are seeing the Perahera casket, which contains 32 relics of Lord Buddha, being placed within the Ranhili gate, that is mounted on the lavishly costumed tasker, who will uplift the majesty of this great procession. These officials are seen offering flowers and floral garlands to the Perahera casket. And this is the third Kumbal procession of the Kandy Esala Perahera 2023, the grand festival of respect that pays homage to the sacred tooth relic to honor Lord Buddha.
This is the devout moment when the royal tasker shall step majestically down from the Mahavahakada, the main entrance, onto the Sandagala, the moonstone, amidst the tune of traditional Nagasingha music in preparation to parade the streets of the Kandian city. Today, the royal tasker will be in the Raja, and he will be accompanied by the Tasker Kandula and the Tasker Mian Raja. Are witnessing the grace of the 1713 Perahera that had begun during the reign of King Kirti Sri Meghavarna, who pledged that the relics must be carried around the city once a year. And this tradition still continues, followed by the succession of many ruling kings, prime ministers and presidents of our country. And moving on, now we are witnessing the great entrance of the first act of the third Kumbal Perahera of Kandy Esala Perahera 2023, which is the troupe of whip crackers, which is being led by Mr. Upale Jayaratna.
Walking up front with the sound of thunder, whips piercing through the skies, are the whip crackers, announcing that the procession has commenced. And these whip masters are tasked with clearing the way for the sacred relic casket and the king.
And if you see closer, you will see these whip cracking masters untying the knots of their whips, symbolizing how religion can soothe the lives and take care of the problems of the human lives in this world.
When looking back at the history in the ancient times, it was the ruling king who would parade the streets in the Perahera. But now, it is the Diyavadana Nilamde Perahera.
The Perahera is believed to be held in prayer for timely rainfall, and the elements of the Perahera is structured in a symbolical way that it paints the imagery of a rainfall. And rain would never be showered without the striking sound of thunder, and these whip wielders are the symbolic imagery of thunder.
You can see that many onlookers who are seated around the city of Kandy to witness this Perahera can be seen throwing thousands of coins to the streets in the belief that this practice will ward off and evil from their loved ones and for the blessings from the sacred tooth lake.
This is a beautiful tradition that highlights the basis for giving, offering, and sharing among the people of our land. Sri Lankans are, in fact, among the top in the world's giving index. That is indeed an outcome from the social influence of Lord Buddha's teaching.
Yes, Pasasna, regardless of how rich or poor they are, they offer their coins in great devotion to joy the Perahera as their minds are conditioned to giving.
An ancient poem translated from the book Sangarajavata recites the story of the Kandy Esala Perahera as follows: the kingdom of Senkadagala. The procession of the month of Esala, held from times ago in favor of the gods above, led by grace of the Buddha, followed by the deities, the Perahera shall perambulate just as the kings did commemorate. Only those who have mastered the art of whip cracking will be taken to participate in the Kandy Esala Perahera. And next up, we are witnessing the entrance of the fire acrobats, which is being led by Mr. E.D. Tilakaratna.
As we all know, rain does not come with thunder alone. Just as lightning flashes across the skies, the procession too has its flashes of light dancing across. The faces of the people lining the streets to watch. These are the fire dancers who are offering fire, inviting the rain gods to water our lands with water.
Even though it seems very paradox to learn that we offer fire to seek for water, this phenomenon of nature is magnificently depicted by this group of fireball dancers who perform this thrilling stunt of acrobatics while illustrating how lightning comes with the rain.
The turning of the fireballs is called Pandam Palya, which paints the night with varied patterns of light using both hands and feet, along with the thrilling episodes of fire stunts.
And back in the history, Kandian performing arts have been classified into 5 variants, which were known as Wahala Ilangama, Singakari Ilangama, Tamara Pittukari Ilangama, Natum Milangama, and Kavikara Madama. Interestingly, it was the king's order that all 5 of these classifications must be performed in the Perahera, which is a royal order that is still being obeyed since the ancient times till the modern days.
The classifications of Wahala Ilangama that was mentioned before comprises of acts that create a sense of thrill among the spectators, and the fireball dance we see in front of us is one such of example performing the art to the Wahala Ilangama.
The sun, moon, earth, universe, solar month, night and day are all cyclic, and the fireball dance highlights these universal cycles while depicting how they burn and cool us in our life circles. The dancers also paint the fiery cycle of samsara that is flooded with desire, ignorance and anger that are highlighted by the chakras. Following the fire acrobats, we are now seeing the Buddhist flag bearers represented by the inmates of Pallekele outdoor prison.
The Buddhist flag bearers, who are clad in white national costumes, carrying the most respected flag of Buddhism, while being preceded by the national flag of Sri Lanka. The sight of these Buddhist flags create a sense of tranquility among the spectators, reminding us the fact that this procession is in celebration, devotion, and an offering to great Lord Buddha.
And there's a special reason that Kandy Esala Perahera has these Buddhist flag bearers. It is to reflect the unity of Sri Lanka as a nation. And in front of these Buddhist flag bearers, there's a national flag to symbolize the aforementioned fact.
The Buddhist flag is a symbol of faith and peace. The 6 colors of the flag represent the colors of the aura that emanated from the body of Lord Buddha when he attained the enlightenment under the sacred Bodhi tree. The horizontal stripes represent the races of the world living in harmony, while the vertical stripes represent the eternal world peace.
The flag bearers we see here are the inmates of the Pallekele open prison camp who have been stirring in this segment in the Perahera for many years. They too are humans just like us who were once diverted in life in the lieu of wrongdoing that would have been a mistake of theirs or their society. But this participation is a part of the ordeal in releasing them back to the society as corrected humans. And therefore, they are here today to pay homage to the sacred tooth relic in hope for the change they pray for their in lives. Next up, we are seeing the sword bearers represented by the Angampura team of Sri Lanka Air Force.
Working in great discipline, in their calm and disciplined manner, are the army of sword bearers who provide protection to the Perahera casket.
Since the ancient times, the sacred tooth relic has played an important role in local politics, since it was believed that whoever who holds the sacred tooth relic shall hold the governance of the country. Next up, we are seeing the entrance of the Peramunerala on the back of the great tusker Vasana, who belongs to Sri Ruhunu Mahakataragama Devālaya.
We now see the most magnificent sight of the Perahera, which is the arrival of the very first elephant who will be carrying the Peramunerala. It is the norm of the Perahera that the Peramunerala, or the front runner of the procession, is the first person on elephant back, and neither officials nor elephants are permitted to parade before the Peramunerala.
Next up, we are seeing the entrance of the Hedisa troop of Sri Dalada Maligava. This is the arrival of the first Hedisa troop that represent the official musical ensemble who are permanently seconded to the service of Sri Dalada Maligava, as I mentioned. They perform in dignified presence in front of the procession as a tradition which they practice with majestic skill. In fact, no Panchatura Vadana or traditional orchestra of Sinhalese music that produce sounds using either drums or other musical instruments is permitted before the Hedisa as per the rule of the Kandian Perahera tradition.
Sri Lanka is rich with its own traditional music, and Hevisi, which is dignified as the authentic sound of Sri Lanka. The history of Hevisi take back to the time when the salping of the Jai Sri Mahabodhi tree was brought down to Sri Lanka by Sangamitha Therani. evident marks the fact that the Hevisi is the oldest traditional orchestra and the Buddhist sound offering in Sri Lankan heritage. Hevisi has the most prominent orchestra of the five-fold musical instrument to has its own variants that are authentic to various parts of the country, known as Upcountry, Low Country and Sabaragamuwa.
You mentioned about the variants of Hevisi, and the other specialty of Kandy Esala Perahera and its featuring of Hevisi is the pure domination of upcountry traditional arts, wherefore this particular Hevisi instrumental performance belongs to the upcountry tradition of Hevisi, which is known as Udurata Hevisi in Sinhalese. The musicianship of Hevisi in the Kandy Esala Perahera and for the daily rituals of the Sri Dalata Maligava are assigned to the most skilled lineages of Hevisi drummers who are Uduwela, Ihalawela, Malagamana and Molagura, who represented the first row of the Hevisi troupe while marching to the beat of the drums. Apart from the key lineages, we also see the presence of other Hevisi lineages in this Perahera representing Valletula, Moradanda, Hevavissa, as we can see, Kanishka, they are contributing with great devotion to this celebration. And the leadership of these four lineages that I mentioned before depict the recognition given to them by the king through the way in which they decorate their Hevisi drums using the tassels or savarang. In fact, no musician is permitted to hang their tassels on their drums based upon their own will, as the tassels are a true reward of accomplishment that marks their skill-based seniority and popularity among the rest. And following that, we are now seeing the magnificent entrance of the Gajanayaka Nilame, and the tasker who's carrying the Gajanayaka Nilame is none other than Kotte Raja, who was gifted by Myanmar in the time of the Ministry of Foreign Affairs, Rohita Bogolagama. And Raja belongs to Venerable Alutnuwara Anuruddha Thero, who is the chief incumbent of Kotte Raja Mahavihara at present. And Raja is a routine participant of Kandy Esala Perahera, coming all the way from the capital of Sri Lanka.
Yes, Pasasna, riding on the second elephant with dignified majesty is the Gajanayaka Nilame of the Sri Dalada Maligava. The Gajanayaka Nilame is the royal official in charge of the king's troop of elephants, and it was a position given to him directly by the king himself. To symbolize this ancient degree, the Gajanayaka Nilame, who is attired in the traditional Sinhala Mul Andu majestically approaches on a tusker. while holding the ankus or the ankusaya, which is the official symbol of the Gajanayaka Nilame.
And following the Gajanayaka Nilame, now we are witnessing the glamorous performance of the Bulat Padaya dancing troupe, which is being led by Mr. Nalin Jayasekara of Sri Dalada Malikawa. When it comes to Bulat Padaya dance, it is one of the most serene dance performances of the upcountry dance tradition, which provides a welcoming gesture to the audience. The dancers carry a heap of betel leaves on a white cloth with both their hands, and dances in style and discipline, using footwork to the tune of the Gataberera.
It is an interesting fact from history that in the ancient times, the sacred tooth relic had been considered as a private property of the king, and the public had never been permitted in having a chance of worshipping it. It was indeed the thankful move by the King Kirtisi Rajasingha who declared that the relics need to be taken in procession for the public to witness and venerate in seeking for blessings.
Glamorizing the third Kumbal Perahera of Kandy Esala Perahera Mangale 2023, now we are seeing the Tusker Sindhu, who belongs to Venerable Tippatuwave Sri Siddhartha Sumangala Thero of the Mahanayaka Thero of Malvatta chapter. And Sindhu is carrying an official who's holding the Buddhist flag. Tonight, the Perahera commenced at the auspicious hour of 7:02 p.m, heading towards south through Dalada Vidya, T.S. Senanayaka Vidya, Colombo Road, Kotugadala Vidya and Raja Vidya. Following Sindhu, now we are witnessing the glamorous performance of the Nayandi dancing troupe, which is being led by Mr.